What's good, folks, family, friends, loved ones, enemies, frenemies, wizards, witches, muggles, mudbloods, people of Middle-earth to another episode of Disguise Coverage, the only podcast that gives you an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin and is presented by the best pizza in Buffalo, New York. That is One Pipe Pizza. Find the online menu in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you're listening to this show on. I am your host, Anthony Prohaska. Find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro, 2 underscores A-N-T. Find me on Blue Sky at ProAnt. No underscores there, just PROANT. In this episode of Disguise Coverage, we will be diving into all things Dalton Kincaid, a breakdown / evaluation of his skill set, his strengths, his areas of opportunity, his schematic usage, how that compares to other young and successful and up-and-coming tight ends in the league. We're going to be using film and advanced metrics and having a holistic discussion around the Buffalo Bills year 3 tight end because of just some of the recent discourse around him. Now, I want to address this, and we'll be speaking about it at multiple points throughout the show, I'm sure. I know the thumbnail, the graphic seems like a little dramatic, potentially, but the reason I, labeled it and kind of put bust on the graphic, and then even in the title here, is Dalton Kincaid a bust? So much of the conversation when I put out a couple weeks ago after the draft, there was so much wide receiver discourse and not doing enough to, have the Bills done enough to support Josh Allen? Should they have taken a receiver earlier in this most recent draft? Have they done enough in the room? Have they done enough to support Josh Allen? So on and so forth. The whole WGR and Brandon Bean things, all of it. I put out a tweet later in that week, a couple weeks ago, just kind of saying how Dalton Kincaid factors into that conversation, that when you're talking about the pass catchers for the Bills, it can't just get boiled down to the wide receivers, positively or negatively. Dalton Kincaid's trajectory and usage and production significantly factors into the pass catching element of the Bills offense, even though he's not a receiver. And then that ties into, is he because he's a tight end, he's more of a pass catching tight end? How does he function as a blocker? How can he be used? So on and so forth. He's a first round pick the team traded up for. That's kind of just how I put that out there on Twitter. And Charles says, I don't like the title of this episode, Ant. We're going to get into it. It's not as dramatic from our perspective as I said, but the reason I titled it that was there were so many polarizing responses from folks, and they really were at both ends of the spectrum. The one end was, he's still up and coming. He's only going into year 3, or the injuries last year. He'll be fine. I still believe in him. And then the other end was, no, he's a bust. Hasn't lived up to a first round billing. I'm done with him. That drop in the playoffs was the end all be all. I've kind of washed my hands of him, so on and so forth. And I wasn't expecting that level of polarization around him. And because of that, and because of how important of a player I think he is to the team, I wanted to put some things into perspective. So we're going to dive into the metrics, dive into the tape for Kincaid in this episode, along with several other tight ends in this episode, particularly Trey McBride, Sam LaPorta, Brock Bowers, 3 tight ends who Kincaid gets compared to a lot by Bills fans, because I really wanted to put the actual play style, production, the skill set, the usage, all of it into perspective to properly rate this person. Somewhat of a spoiler, I do not think Dalton Kincaid is a bust. I don't think my guest thinks Dalton Kincaid is a bust, but there are areas of opportunity for him. There are limitations to his game, along with the strengths, and we are going to be diving into all of those things in this episode. I mentioned my guest. I am not alone in this episode. I am joined by friend of the show, former member of Cover One, particularly the Cover One film room with myself and Eric Turner. Now a big fancy man living in LA, working for the NFL, just big time wheeling and dealing out there on the West Coast. I am joined by one of my good friends and one of the people I love talking football with the most, Mr. Kendall Mirsky. Kendall, welcome to the show. Thank you for the time.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. Happy to be back. It's been a bit of a hiatus, but draft season gets crazy at NFL Network, and I'm sure it was just as crazy for you with everything going on. So, man, happy to be back and kind of happy to be in the mellow part of the NFL season and just kind of get to soak it all in a little bit before we get right back on that hamster wheel.
It's nuts how Eric and I were talking about it yesterday in the film room, just how the Bills play longer into the playoffs in an ideal world like they did this year. So you go into the AFC Championship, so you're still grinding Bills tape. And then the championship weekend always leads into Senior Bowl week. So
the turnaround is nuts.
Yes, there's no let up. Like the regular season ends, and then it's like, oh well, now you're behind on draft stuff, so you got to throw yourself into draft stuff. But before you can throw yourself into draft stuff, you have to get through free agency. So I'm scouring free agents.
The timing's just terrible.
Dude, it's nuts. I'm scouring
It's
that
so
and
bad.
like league trends defensively, schematically, on offense and defense, player evaluations, all these things, free agency. Then the draft comes around, draft prep kicks in, and then you finish with the draft and you kind of have like this little bit of a lull where you have rookie mini camp before it leads into OTAs and actual training camp in the preseason. But yeah, it's this is kind of like the lull, but also not. It's just nuts.
It makes me wish I was a little bit older and I had more resources during the drought years, because I was so like I had so much opportunity to jump ahead because I was done with everything Bills wise in November, December, turning the page forward. But like it's so different now. Season's ending in January.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll get a season that ends in February. But like it's just crazy, that turnaround time.
It makes me kind of like, that's like the one silver lining that like if the Bills got eliminated in like the wild card round, I'm like,
I get to get ahead on stuff.
Yeah, I guess I can go into draft prep now, like, which is okay.
I don't have to stay up till 2 a.m. night overnight.
And that's what it is. And if I didn't have like the organization I have during college football season to kind of already tier some guys and know what my path is, I feel like I'd feel so far behind the 8 ball that I wouldn't even be able to start. And and so now we get into the spot where the team is starting to take shape a bit, right? So we got the draft. There's always a chance that some guys get cut or some guys get signed, but it's hard to put a percentage on it. But like 97% of what the Bills are in 2025 is what this roster is right now. And so now we get into the spot where we start evaluating what this team will look like from, in 2025 and beyond potentially. You and I have had so many discussions this offseason via text and on this show about the state of this team, what they look like going forward, needs for this year, but also needs beyond, and how all of those things kind of coalesce into one. And as I mentioned in the intro, Dalton Kincaid I guess I should have anticipated it because of social media, but even just in real life, like I feel like there's a lot of polarizing thoughts when it comes to Dalton Kincaid, where there's not a lot of middle ground, as there seems to not be in anything nowadays in like society. But like you and I talked about this offline, and I mentioned it in the intro, just kind of why I titled this episode with this title and had it on the graphic. Just a lot of people kind of writing Kincaid off and almost like he's not even in the discussion, given, I don't know if it's just solely due to that drop or the production in general. When you think about Dalton Kincaid, whether it's where you're at right now, where your head was at coming into this episode, high level, what are your thoughts on Dalton Kincaid? 2 years in the league, some injuries, multiple banged up in 2024 that kind of impacted him a little bit, but he comes into 2025 just a few years removed from being a first-round pick that the Bills traded up for, and a guy that a lot of us thought was going to be the tip of the spear when it came to the passing offense last year. Where's your head at when you think of, Dalton Kincaid at this moment in time?
I think a lot of where I'm at is honestly kind of wiping away, almost clean slating what happened in year 2 and act as if year 3 is year 2. Because I think what happened, and me working in the fantasy space, like I can talk about how people perceive Dalton Kincaid going into year 3. Like no one wants him. Everyone overdrafted him. Even at a value, I feel like he was drafted like 10th, 11th round this past year in fantasy drafts. But people thought he was going to be the focal point of the offense in 2024. And I really think going into 2025, the reason this whole like, is he a bust question is coming up, and all of the doubt and kind of, I guess, depression over expectations for him is because of how high the expectations were in 2024. And I don't even think it's wrong to say that those expectations should have been high. I don't think that was the issue. I just think preseason expectations, they always change when you get more answers and you get more context into the season. We all thought he was going to be used in a myriad of ways by Joe Brady, like not just in the ways, and we'll talk about it when we get into the film, but not just in the ways that we saw, but beyond that. And we thought he was going to be a target monster. We thought he was going to be on the field like all the time. He was going to be on the field more than
Yeah.
Knox. And there were things that happened, whether it was injury or just straight up personnel and strategy and schematics, where the Bills were like, we don't want him on the field this much. And it's not even to say he's bad. It's just to say there are certain things, there are certain boxes they're trying to check on certain personnel groups, certain play calls, certain situations that he doesn't necessarily fit as well as Dawson Knox and maybe even Jackson Hawes.
Eric and I were talking about that yesterday. I keep calling Jackson Hawes Spencer Hawes, the former NBA center from Washington who played for the Kings.
I can't help it.
I've even have it written in my notes like Spencer Hawes over
Do it,
and over.
Jackson. It's Jackson. Insane. It's Jackson.
And then a couple weeks ago, I was doing draft stuff with Russ. And I called Trent McDuffie Isaiah McDuffie for the entire episode, the linebacker for the Packers. Like, I'm falling apart.
I mean, it's a lot of names right now in the Rolodex. Well, right? I shouldn't say right now, that have built through the Rolodex over years and years.
That's fair.
But yeah, everything on my Kincaid take into 2025 is kind of cleaning the 2024 slate clean and almost acting as if it didn't happen because he's still relatively young. I know he was drafted as an older prospect. But he's on his first contract. He's entering year 3. He still has plenty of talent. I really feel like injuries derailed a lot of what they wanted to do with him. And I think there's a big part of this that it's lost in the context of he's kind of the offensive version of a designated pass rusher, right? Like he has a role and he's really, really good at it. And I don't necessarily know if the Bills want to make him this well-rounded, unspecialized player. I think they like that he's a specialized skill set. And I think that's valuable to them. And I think that's part of the reason they drafted Jackson Hawes. Because let's be honest, I mean, there is life
in
after
my head.
Dawson
I was
Knox.
like, it's Spencer. And I'm like, no, it's not.
You idiot. It's Spencer. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I really, it's really interesting. And it is tough to kind of bake in all that context, especially when you're so hopeful going into a season, but they spread the ball around a lot more than I think anyone really thought they would, even with the whole everybody eats mantra. Like it really got spread around a lot. And I don't think people were expecting it to the level that it happened in 2024. Yeah. And I think that helps reshape expectations for 2025, where sure, you can still be very excited about Kincaid like you were going into last year, but maybe it's regulated a little bit more knowing how the ball is spread around in the Bills offense.
That's a fair point. And there's so many things you said that we won't end up talking about it. But one point I wanted to piggyback on, it's something you and I talked about via text. There was that picture circulating. You had asked me about it. You were like, what's going on? There's something about like a picture of him at camp or something like that. And I was like, yeah, he looks a little like skinny. And for folks who wanted him to add more muscle or size and be more of a blocking threat, it's not ideal, yada, yada. And then you and I started talking about like, what if that's not an accident? What if that's not like, oh, he's recovering from injury, so he lost a little weight? What if it's by design? And they're like, you know what, dude? Just lean more into you're the big wide receiver aspect, and that's kind of how we're going to play you. I think that's like, and again, we're not saying that is the thing, but that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Like that could be the idea. And I find it so interesting, and we'll get into it when we talk about his schematic usage, because the usage, and that's one of my big takeaways coming into this episode in studying tight ends across the league, you know, Kincaid, and especially the 3 that we're also going to be diving into the tape with for this episode. But just for better or for worse, the way things are designed in the Bills offense aren't like what the Cardinals do for Trey McBride, or what the Raiders do for Brock Bowers, or what the Lions do for Sam LaPorta. You've got 3 teams that really lean into their tight end. And again, or not again, but you have to consider how those other teams are made up, how necessary those guys are as target monsters or the role they play. And also at the same time, you can't really fault like Joe Brady for not involving Kincaid more, making him a direct guy, because the offense just keeps rolling. They are a run first team and everything stems from there. Despite Josh Allen being the MVP and having this unicorn at quarterback, they are a run first team. And then Kincaid not being a plus blocker is interesting how that fits in schematically. But then there's still ways that they could use. Yes. And there are ways that Brady could use him better, but also you don't really fault Brady for not using him more because the offense still hums. And then some of it's on Kincaid and some of it's not. And so I think it's fun to put all of that kind of into perspective in this episode. And it's funny just seeing the chat kind of, I brought up several comments as you were speaking, like even in the chat here, there's different pieces of people being like, no, it was a reach. Nah, he's a bust. Nah, he'll be fine. What about the injuries? Nah, I don't care. He's a problem. Like he's concerned. There's just, it's just so up and down and all over the place when it comes to this guy who's still just going into year 3 and at an injury plagued 2024. But I am nonetheless excited to talk about him. Kendall, let's start off with the blocking. And then for folks who don't kind of, if you're watching live or watching later, listening, whatever have you, the way we're going to go through here, we're going to start with the high level discussion or continue the higher level discussion, I should say, on Dalton Kincaid. We're going to go over him as a blocker, over him as a pass catcher, over his schematic usage in this offense based on advanced metrics and a lot of film study. We grinded a lot of tape when it came to Kincaid and prep for this episode. Then we're going to go look at some tape of Dalton Kincaid as a blocker and as a pass catcher. And then we're going to dive into some tape and some metrics for Trey McBride, Sam LaPorta, and Brock Bowers, just as a point of reference and a nice juxtaposition for some other good young tight ends, how they get used, how they don't get used, comparing everything to kind of put it into a nice, neat, and tidy little bow for you folks in this episode. Any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, feel free to put them up into the chat throughout the entirety of the episode. Super chats, as always, get priority because I respect the monetary donation and the color attracts me like a cat with a laser pointer. So, yeah, Kendall, let's start off with Dalton Kincaid and his evaluation. We'll start off with him as a blocker. I want to start with this because I think this is something you and I talked about when he was drafted out of Utah. The idea of him being a willing blocker, but not necessarily a plus blocker because of a combination of size, frame, how he's built, a little more length in his limbs, but not necessarily the thickest or the densest type of guy, not necessarily the best technique, but him being more of a pass catching first type of tight end, more of a pass, receiving weapon, however you want to label it, as opposed to this true dual threat, even though he was willing and could get away with some things as a blocker. And now, fast forward going into year 3, I feel like this is the sticking point for so many folks. And they talk about him not being able to block and how it is a hindrance and how much of a limitation as it is. So let's lead off with that. Kincaid as a blocker, what are your thoughts after going through the tape, kind of studying him? And also, again, taking into account the injuries in 2024, which he injured his shoulder / collarbone early in the season. I believe it was the Houston Texans game when Allen overthrew him a little bit. He dove, tried to get it, jacked up his shoulder. And then what did he do to his PCL in week 10?
Yeah, it was week 10 against the Colts.
And then so torn PCL, I believe, right? Torn in his knee.
I actually don't know if it was fully torn or I feel like sprained.
Sprains technically are tears, but either way, jacked up his knee then in week 10, played through both. That impacted him further. But Kendall, again, Kincaid as a blocker, the floor is yours. What are your thoughts?
I'm still on the train. He's very willing. Like, I honestly think that's the main thing with him when you're talking about the upside to him as a blocker and the potential for growth. Like, it's never been an issue for him to want to block. It's really just been an ability thing. The uncatchable targets thing, I'll throw that in there when we get to it. I have a stat on it.
You know what? I was going to tell you to do one, and then in my head I was like, he's already going to have that.
Yeah, I got it. It's in the holster, but when we get to it, I'll draw the gun. But yeah, he's a willing blocker. It's really not, it's not a mentality thing. It's just a physicality thing. And we heard that from Brandon Beane. We heard that from Sean McDermott. We heard that from all the people that matter at One Bills Drive. It's really just comes down to technique and physicality. But then at the other end of it, like, it goes back to this high level conversation of like, what do we want this guy doing?
Yes.
Like, do we truly want him on the line of scrimmage? And I think drafting Jackson Hawes kind of gives you an answer on what they want. Because there was, sure, if the Bills didn't draft Jackson Hawes, I think there's the looming question in the back of your head. What do the Bills do at Y tight end when they move on from Dawson Knox? Or maybe they don't move on from Dawson Knox. Maybe they manage to retain him at a more cost-effective contract long-term. But, you know, hypothetically, let's say that that's something that the Bills are considering. Every fan is wondering, okay, who's the inline tight end now?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem like it's going to be, because that's really what's going on right now with Kincaid. It's very siloed. His role is very obvious. Sure, he can do some things blocking in line, but he's usually the second guy attached to the line of scrimmage. He's very rarely the guy right next to the tackle. Honestly, a lot of times when he is the guy next to the tackle, he's on the weak side of the play. Like, because Dawson Knox is on the strong side of the play and there are 2 tight ends on the field. So we just talked about it before the show. Like, on a scale from 1 to 10, he's not a 1. Like, this isn't a big issue. He's somewhere probably between 4 and 5, which is workable. Like, you can use him in certain situations. You're not completely handicapped when it comes to, oh, we need to run this play. We'd like to have him on the field for a sense of illusion. We might pass the ball, whatever it might be. He's not going to be that much of a liability, but like you said earlier, not a plus blocker. You're really not going to win that side of the field because of his blocking skills. So hopefully that's an area of improvement. Hopefully that's something that he's going to focus on. But yeah, I don't want him to add 10 pounds. I don't. I want him to keep his fastball and maybe inch by inch, 1% better each day, get better at blocking. I don't really need him to become like this 6 out of 10 blocker. As long as he's comfortably around 5 and he's still doing the stuff he does as a pass catcher, I'm truthfully fine with it.
And I think that's fair. I'm in a pretty similar boat. I think he is such a good, and I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth a little bit and also save some of it for the schematic usage piece, but he's such a mismatch. He has such mismatch potential as a pass catcher and as a route runner, receiver, however you want to label him, like that. All I need him to be is serviceable as a blocker. I think right now, again, you mentioned us talking offline about it. Yeah, I think he's somewhere between like a 4.5 as a blocker. My issue with it is, and again, we talked about it when he got drafted. We talked about it for years, like the whole idea of personnel and being able to dictate to a defense and being able to access more of the menu without having to turn the page. A significant chunk of going into 12 personnel is the value of how does the defense match you? Because 12 personnel, if you've got 2 tight ends that can both function as pass catchers and blockers, you can increase your run game and pass game menu in a multitude of ways. You can go condense, you can go spread, you can, if you have more bodies attached to the line of scrimmage, your run game menu increases significantly, but you can get to all these different things and make the defense go, do we have to put a third safety? Do we have to put a third linebacker? Can we stay in nickel? Like, how do we cover these guys? What do we do? And so if he's not serviceable as a blocker, and he is more of just a big wide receiver hipped off the line of scrimmage, like you mentioned, it does impact his value in a negative way. It reduces it. But I don't think it's been to this degree where it significantly tarnishes who and what he is. But there are things you can't get to. I think a lot of them, to your point, should have been kind of expected. Like, I never expected him to become a plus blocker. He was never going to become George Kittle. He was never going to become Gronk or, even off the field issues aside, like Aaron Hernandez as a receiver and as a blocker. Like, these guys who could live in the light and the dark and do both of these things. He was never going to be that. You just wanted him to be a 4.5 to a 5 as a blocker. If he could be a 5, that's great, because as a pass catcher, he's like an 8.5 or a 9. And we're going to show some tape of that. But my biggest issue with it is just what his ceiling is as a player and how that's tied to the offense, because he's not so bad that he's deficient or he's a vulnerability out there, but it is somewhat of a tell, or at the very least impacts your ability to have access to that menu and to be able to dictate to a defense. Because if he can't function as a blocker, or if you have to consistently, like, okay, he's the inline tight end or he's hipped off, we know they're not going to have him try to block somebody on the line. They're going to try and arc him and put him to our corner or our nickel because we know he can't match up that way. Then you kind of telegraph things a little bit, or at the very least, you are hindered. Your schematic potential is hindered. His potential is then hindered, and you kind of chase your tail a little bit. So I don't think his blocking is this thing that has ruined him. It hasn't progressed the way I wanted it to. I'm hoping, from a silver lining perspective, it was because of more of the injury this past year.
That's kind of why I'm holding out hope as well.
Like, that's what I'm holding out hope a little bit. But, and someone said in the comment, like, saying us saying he's a willing blocker is a nice way of saying he's not a good blocker. I slightly disagree with that because like blocking on offense, I don't know, like 75, 80% of it is
It's
just effort. It's
Yeah.
effort. You have to want to block. Now,
It's the same thing with tackling. Like,
yes,
you have to want to do it. Like, that's really a big part of it.
Yes, it's a huge piece. That's why people always say all the time, like, you can tell like how well a team is bought in by how the receivers block on offense. That's why people talk about the Packers offense. Like, their receivers all block their butts off like that. Like, their job depends on it. This comment I thought was pretty good. I think it's a good way of saying it. Comment by 13. He says he's not a good blocker. He's more of a, quote, get in the way type of blocker. He's just getting in the way of the defense. And I think that's fair. I think he's more of an obstructor and a shepherd as a blocker than he is like a people mover, displacer. The willingness is there. He's not soft. He's not scared of contact. He's just better suited to block nickels, corners, some safeties, depending on the size. It's more just his size and frame. He's not the thickest guy. He's more length and wiry. He's fluid as an athlete, but that type of fluidity doesn't lend itself to being a dense hammer as a blocker. He's more of a nail, and he's going to receive that contact as opposed to dishing it out, which again impacts where you line him up, how you use him, and so on and so forth.
I think the conversation that you were just having with yourself on like how he fits into this offense is so poignant because it's not about how it's limiting who he is as a player. It's like it's so indirectly just limiting his snaps.
Yes,
like that's really what it comes down to.
I mean, I got to think part of the reason
into the
you
offense.
Yes, and I also real quick within that, keep your thought, don't lose it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to get this out. I think it's also part of the reason too why you lean into like 6 offensive lineman sets, right? Because you get that heavy aspect, and then you can almost use Alec Anderson as the blocking tight end and be able to do more pass catching things with Kincaid because you feel somewhat more limited in a true 12 personnel type of world.
Yeah, no, and that's really all it is. It's just, it's not that he's not good enough to block. It's that he might not meet the threshold of comfort that, Joe Brady might have in certain aspects of the offense where it's like, okay, this kind of dictates what I want to do with personnel groupings. And then it just organically in that way limits his snaps. And then once you limit his snaps, you limit his output. And once you limit his output, you're like, is this return on investment worth it? We just traded up for this guy when we didn't even need a tight end, from outside perception. So it all kind of like, you can really do this spiral and just really ruminate on this and like, oh my God, this whole thing is just a terrible, terrible luxury pick from 2023. But like,
yes,
you have to really massage it and understand they probably weren't really expecting him to be this plus blocker, but it is a scary thought thinking like, maybe he didn't progress to the level they thought he could, and that's limiting how much they actually want to use him. Because the way Bean and McDermott talked about his lack of physicality in reference to his injuries, that's kind of damning in the aspect of, well, it sounds like there's something a little left to be desired that they had envisioned for him when they drafted him. But a lot of Bills draft picks broke out in year 3, so we gotta hold on to that at least through this year.
And I think that's a huge part of it too, right? Like the general rule of thumb is you can't make a concrete decision on any prospect until year 3. And I think that's, as a general rule of thumb, I think that's good. And even more so for a guy, again, who got significantly banged up in his second year. And the direction that they want with him, I think, is so interesting, especially too, let's also factor in, the coordinator change, right? Was he more of a Ken Dorsey want than a Joe Brady want? Like what? Like how much does that impact things a little bit? And I find it hard to think that they weren't expecting some semblance of improvement as a blocker or expecting him to function in that world regularly. Because again, you don't take Dalton Kincaid after already paying Dawson Knox and not think, man, we're going to like live in 12. There's so many things we can do. Again, we talked about it because of how good of a pass catching threat he is. You can go 12 and you could go condensed. You could go spread. You can go 2x2, 3x2, especially with James Cook. You can do all these things. Like, it's the menu aspect. But if he's not the blocker you need him to be, if he's not sustainably functional, that hinders all of that menu potential, all of that dictation capability as an offense. And then, but then it's still possible, because then in my head, I'm like, well, do they think that he's just such a good element as a receiver that they just consider him a receiver? That's part of what I'm going to get into in my schematic usage part. But yeah, I think the way he's painted as a blocker, it needs, just, again, like how we put it into perspective, needs to be put in that perspective. He is not a lost cause. He is not a vulnerability. He's not a deficiency, but he is not a plus. And again, he could become a plus in year 3. Maybe the technique improves. Maybe the injuries in year 2 really were a problem, but I just don't see him ever being a guy that you're going to be like, yeah, he can wash down an edge, or he can base block and hold up against a bigger body or a more physical linebacker, or even any defensive lineman, like some of the clips that we're going to show from other guys, even if it's just for a half a second or 1 second. Like, I just think he's going to be a guy that gets more compressed. I don't think he's built to be a Y. I think he's built more as the F, that adjuster, that hipped off tight end, more of a power slot, even a quasi X. And that can still work based on how good of a pass catcher he is. It just changes what the ceiling is for him, changes what the ceiling is for the offense, makes it a little less ideal for the pick, but he still could have value overall. He's just, right now he's not a plus blocker. I don't know if he's going to be. And then I know some comments in the chat, John Robert just said it, like, he needs to muscle up more, he needs to add more weight. I think that's a slippery slope, because part of what makes him so good as a pass catcher, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute in the next segment, is I always kind of call it the technical fluidity that he has. Like, he understands leverage, and he plays with good body lean, and he's got, good burst, his ability. He always does that, that drop step when he catches passes, whether he's deep or in the shorter intermediate, like, he's catching it and he's already moving into stride. Yeah. He's so fluid. Yeah. You got to be careful when you add more muscle, because if you add more muscle, does he get a little more
rigid?
Yes. You took the words right out of my mouth. Does he get more stiff and rigid as a player? Does some of that fluidity in his release or in his stems or on the break or in the route, does that change a little bit? It's a very delicate balance between pliability and strength and muscle mass, and all of those things coalescing into one. So it's 5 pounds of muscle could be a significant difference for him to add on, or maybe not. Maybe he could add 5 to 10 and feel completely fine. It's just not the easiest fix. Just be like, yeah, we'll just have him add more muscle. Also, sometimes guys just can't. It took AJ Epinesa like 3 years to figure out how to get to the weight that they needed him to get at, between diet and workout regimen. And then you're trying to figure out, like, okay, the calories that I need to intake, the workout routine that I need, the cardio that I need to do, because I don't want to burn too much that I'm losing weight. So how do I maintain? It is such a fine science.
It is very difficult.
Yes, which is also, I think, annoying in this conversation, because of your thought, like, if you're drafting him being like, well, we just got to get him to add more muscle. It's like, can his frame do that? How much you change in his body composition, all of these things. And if he already has some injury history, is more muscle mass really going to help that, because you're making him heavier? Like, it is a slippery slope. And I do think, again, part of the reason, my biggest concern for him coming out was what he would be as a blocker. Because if he can't function as a blocker the way that they need him to, it just limits his value, because he's not necessarily a dual threat tight end. He's more of just a big bodied wide receiver, which can still have value, just not as much as being a true dual threat tight end in 12 personnel.
Honestly, back to the draft point though, like, you got to think that the Bills player personnel department was aware of how much time on task he had with football, and also his age when he was drafted. I feel like there was a large contingency of that group that understood he's kind of maxed out. Like, he was an older prospect, and they probably knew he was pretty close to a finished product. It was just going to be polishing here and there. And you think about how he hit the ground running as a rookie, and that kind of speaks to how NFL ready he was and how close he was to that final product. So I think year 3, what we're looking for is an improvement off the rookie season with some more polish. Like, truthfully, that's all I think we're looking for in year 3, but who knows? Like, the body recomposition could be a thing, but yeah, I'm with you on the slippery slope. Like, he's listed at 240. I don't really want him anywhere over 240.
No.
With what he is and what he's good at, like, I think maybe it's a muscle, like a recomposition in terms of like just your body composition in
Mhm.
general between body fat and muscle. But like I think in terms of mass, he really should be maxed out at 240 because all those good things about his fluidity and how he plays the game as a receiver, you really do want to keep that over everything because you can't ruin the fastball.
No, absolutely. Anything else on his blocking before we move on to him as a pass catcher?
Nah, I'm good. Let's get to the good stuff.
Copy that. I'm gonna want to grab this comment real quick from Roy.
Mhm.
Roy says Kincaid's game similar to Mike Gesicki.
Mm,
No way. Mike Gesicki is literally just like a big slot.
yeah.
He's not a good blocker. He also is not a willing blocker. Like he's not blocking. Like it's just not happening.
I don't
Like
remember the last time I've seen him line up
I
next to a
can't
tackle.
even think of a blocking rep in my head. Like he is literally they let Tyler Boyd go in Cincinnati because they brought in Mike Gesicki. Like he was the new slot wide receiver. He was the new wide receiver 3. It was going to be Higgins and Chase and Gesicki. Like, and then they have like Trent Irwin and like how they would rotate those guys in. But yeah, he is no, Kincaid is much more willing and a much better blocker than Gesicki. Unfortunately, that's
Honestly,
just not saying much because Gesicki is not a good. It's just black. Gesicki is. I don't even know if Gesicki's like a 1 on a scale to 10 as a blocker. He might be like a 0.5.
don't do him like that. I mean, he is lanky and wiry, so it is tough for him.
He also has
naturally.
one of the worst gritty. I'm always going to think of him doing that gritty
Oh,
when he scored for
I think he
Miami
does
against
that
the
on
Bills in the
purpose.
playoffs. That gritty was terrible.
Um,
I'm automatically subtracting a 1 point. If he was a 2 as a blocker, I'm already putting him down to a 1 just because how bad that gritty was.
in terms of blocking tight end comps, I feel like our hope is that he matures into a Travis Kelce level blocker. Because like there's so much similarity between him and Kelce as pass catchers and route runners.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much innate feel for the position from both of them.
Yeah.
And Kelce isn't like the best blocker in the world, but he's super competitive. He's super willing, and he got better at it through the years. So I think, I think that's kind of our hope as a fan base that he can kind of mature into that level of blocker.
Yes, I just don't want him to be a deficiency. And again, I think he's
on the scheme more than anything.
Yes.
Honestly,
I think he's fine to slightly below fine right now. Again, like I think he's a 4 to a 4.5 on a good day. I would love for him just to be average. Like just give me more obstruction. If he could just hold his blocks for another quarter second longer against everybody and just give me some semblance of that a little bit more, I would be completely fine. Because again, he is a plus aspect as a pass catcher, which is the other element we'll talk about here. Kendall, I don't know what's going on with me here. Kendall, thoughts on Kincaid as a pass catcher and what he brings in that regard?
I mean, this is everything. This is his whole game. He like so much of this also stems from just the body type and the mismatch threat that he is.
Yes.
Like you really don't know what to put on him. I'm sure you're going to have multiple film elements of him matching up against corners.
I grabbed several of the
safeties,
ones
linebackers.
that you wanted me to grab, like that because they show the mismatch capability and potential so much.
It's a big part of it, and I think that's a big part of why they took him. It wasn't for, oh, can he grow as a blocker? That's just gravy. If that works, that's gravy. But this is the crux of everything for him as a player. It's his mismatch threat, but then on top of who they match up against him, he's capable of winning that matchup regardless of what body type it is across from him. He has the athleticism and the fluidity to release from the line of scrimmage. He has the physicality to break through any hand checking. He has really good route running, but then honestly, the best thing about him is his instincts and his feel. I guess against zone specifically, it's just he has an innate feel for
ever since
space.
Utah. He just knows where to sit, like consistently.
And timing too. It's not just like the space, but it's also the timing in which he gets there. I remember it was probably like entering year 3 for Dawson Knox. He was talking about, oh yeah, I'm learning the position and I'm learning like it's not just about running the route fast because it's about getting to your landmark on time.
How to
if tempo I run it
thing.
too
I think
fast,
it was after like that might have been the first year for Tight End University. And I think
he was probably talking about that. Yeah, that makes sense. But it was something like that. And he was just saying, like, if if you run it too fast, you're out of the window by the time the quarterback gets to you and the progression. Like there were so many times on tape this past year from Kincaid where he's running a dig from an inline position or a tight slot position, and he's really deliberate about his stem and how he's breaking it in terms of leverage inside or outside, but he's doing it slow and deliberately because he doesn't want to break it off on the in-breaker too quickly, because if he gets in between those 2 second level defenders too quickly, he's not in the window for Josh Allen on time. He's past that window. And then you force Josh to hold on to it for half a second longer, and that could turn into a sack. It could turn into a fumble. God knows what. So, honestly, that to me, that's the best part of his game. It's just the innate feel for route running and separation, because he can do it on a mismatch level against man. I'm not going to sit here and say that's his strength. I mean, it's way above average for tight ends. Like he can separate from man better than most tight ends.
Yes.
But I think the real plus matchup for him is what he does for quarterbacks against zone. He is so friendly for Josh Allen in zone, finding those spots that work for him. And even on top of that, just the scramble drill stuff. Like he just gets it so quickly. Like he can see, I mean, it helps when you're a rookie, when Josh Allen has already figured it out. So you're thrown into the fire and this is a big part of the offense. So yeah, he got a lot of time on task with that early, which was good. But his feel for finding space and the timing in which that he runs his routes and all that stuff like that's truly what I love most about his game.
I honestly don't have too much to add. Like he came into the league as such a plus aspect as a pass catcher. And that's really just, he hit the ground running, no pun intended, and continued with it. And you said it, you hit it on the head. Like you watch him work in the underneath and the intermediate. He understands like coverage drops for defenders. Like he knows where to sit between linebackers. He knows where the voids are, where the gaps are, and how to pace himself from the release through the stem to the break, and how to get right kind of when that Red Sea parts, whether he's running an in-break or he's running an over-the-ball route, like how he's able to function there. It just works so consistently. And then he also understands leverage in man coverage. Like you'll see him feel guys leaning on him, and he knows this is where that fluidity and that pliability comes in. He knows how to contort his body and have that body control and athleticism to kind of deceive and lie to a defender, because he can lean with his hips and his shoulders and then snap and bend back the other way and create separation. I have a clip like that against Detroit, which we're going to show. His ability as a pass catcher, he like you said, he functions so well in zone, but I do think he works in man, because how do you cover him? Like it takes a very special kind of linebacker or safety to cover him one-on-one. And most teams don't have that.
It's more if Isaiah Simmons worked out.
Oh, good call. Good.
Like that's what would do it. Or like, I guess Derwin James, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it takes that type, and there's 1-2 of those guys floating in the NFL. Given
maybe,
any era.
What are you going to do? Like I guess, what's crazy is I was like naming guys. Baltimore might have like 2. You could put Kyle Hamilton or Malachi Starks on him, which is so crazy.
But there's a world where I see Malachi Starks not being physical enough for Kincaid. And I know that's crazy to say, because we talk about a lack of physicality from Kincaid, but like that's the well-roundedness he has. It's not as a complete tight end, it's as a complete pass catcher. Yes. Like he can really do anything you want him to do as a pass catcher, and that makes him such a threat against any matchup. And man, he can throw a different pitch at whatever, depending on who the batter is, he can throw any type of pitch.
Yes. Good call.
It's really, really valuable. The middle ground that he plays as a skill set, specifically as a pass catcher.
Yeah. And we talked about what he is in zone and in man, that's where that matchup piece comes in. Like, how do you have a special athlete at linebacker or safety? And you go with that because you need someone with a little bit more size, because even though he isn't the most physical, intimidating presence, his size and frame is still going to be a problem for corners. So you need a bigger body, but is that bigger body athletic enough to stay with him in coverage? And then so we're going to put a corner on him. Is your corner big enough or physical enough? I got one of the multiple clips from that Tennessee game we're going to go and look at. One, he's getting jammed against Jarvis Brownlee. And Jarvis Brownlee loves contact.
He loves it.
He loves it. Loved it at Louisville. He was one of my favorite watches last year as a corner. I think he's legitimately an ascending player, and he's good at press man against a variety of body types. Just to put it into perspective for folks, I'll talk about it more when we show it.
Yeah.
Brownlee beat the hell out of Keon Coleman when he pressed him. Like, Coleman couldn't get off Brownlee, and Kincaid shakes him. Kincaid lets him get right through him.
Yeah.
Plays through him and snaps it off. So even physical corners who want to play press, Kincaid can get through that. So he's such a matchup problem in that regard. And I structured this conversation purposefully to go from the blocking to the pass catcher and then the schematic usage piece. Because for me, I don't want the 12 personnel aspect to go away. I think that's such a key for this offense, right? But while I don't want him to stop being hipped off and stop having condensed formations and that, I do want to see him just used more as a bigger wide receiver in solo alignments, like whether it's a 3-by-1 and he's the quasi X. Like, give me more of those. Give me a condensed formation and he's kicked out outside, because who's matching him out there in a one-on-one? Is it a corner? Is it a safety? Is it a linebacker? He probably has the advantage as a pass catcher in one of those ways, shape or form, because he is so multiple and so versatile as a pass catcher. And I think that's the biggest thing that got forgotten about with his down year in 2024. It's the injuries impacted him, and that drop, which was very unfortunate, especially considering how good his hands are, right? And he even had some drops throughout the rest of the year. Like the Texans game,
it was a little inconsistent.
Yes, inconsistent with his hands, which has not been a thing that he's really ever had in his career. But I think a lot of folks forgot about how good of a receiver he is and how good of a pass catching threat he is as a tight end, because of what he is from an athletic profile standpoint, how he sees the game, how he understands it. And he can separate in a multitude of ways: vertical, the intermediate, underneath, in a variety of routes against a variety of coverages. And then also factoring it in, and you talked about having a stat for it, and it shows up on the tape. Allen missed him a good chunk of time in 2024. And again, it's a bit tying into who's at fault. Is Kincaid's timing off? Did a defender reroute him? Is he getting to his right depth and his landmark, like you mentioned with Dawson Knox having to learn? Is it on Allen? Was there pressure on the play? But for whatever reason, Allen being a little off target to Kincaid happened more than it happened to really anyone else on the team. I have an example of it that we'll go through the tape in a little bit, but I know you have some data and some metrics on that kind of put some things into perspective too.
Yeah, I'll hit that quickly and then pivot on to something that I'm actually surprised both of us didn't even touch. But the catch rate, just straight up catch rate, like how many times is he catching the ball that is targeting him? 58.7% in 2024. That's the lowest among 31 tight ends with at least 50 targets, right? But then you contextualize that with catchable targets. He had a 65.8 catchable target rate, which is the lowest, again, among those 31 tight ends with 50 plus targets. So when you contextualize both of those together, like, he's already behind the 8 ball.
Yes.
Like, it's impossible to get your catch rate up when you have the worst catchable target rate.
Yes.
Like,
it's hard to get your catch rate up when the ball isn't being put in a spot where you can catch it.
And then that's even layered more with his unrealized air yards. He had 425 unrealized air yards, and that was the most among tight ends this year.
Tell the people what unrealized air yards is.
So really just say he's 15 yards down the field. That's where he is from, like, the line of scrimmage, or I guess from Josh Allen's hand is probably how this is measured.
I hate that sites do it differently. Some sites do air yards from the line of scrimmage. Some do it from where the quarterback throws
That's
it.
Why I
was
said
talking
both.
about it like a month ago. Yeah, I was so
for what it's
off.
worth. That's why I said both.
Yeah,
because it's different everywhere. But 425 yards aggregated through the season of air yards that, the ball traveled in the air targeting Kincaid, but he didn't come down with the catch. So, I'm sure a few of those were times that he couldn't catch it, or pass was batted by a defender, but 65.8 of those were catchable. The rest weren't. So it's a lot.
And 65.8, like you said, is not good. And so that's
not high enough.
No,
and then here's the thing. So here's the pivot which is crazy that we didn't even talk about. The way he was used for the better part of the season was just this flat screen bubble screen.
This
like,
isn't my schematic usage
so
part,
much.
but talk about it. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I won't go too deep, but like to think about a guy that's used like that and he has the lowest catch rate among tight ends with 50 targets
Crazy.
is crazy.
Like that's why
most of his
Khalil
targets
Shakir,
were like
around the line
yeah,
of scrimmage.
Khalil
That's why
Shakir.
Shakir's catch rate was like 100% for the whole year because
They
his average
use
depth of
him-
target was like 0.1.
They use them interchangeably in that like bubble screen, flat screen game.
Are that RPO bubble
They
all
love
day,
it.
Kincaid.
They,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, like it works. And Kincaid, this is something to talk about as Kincaid as a pass catcher is what he does after the catch. Like it's a very, very valuable thing.
Yes.
When we talk about his lack of physicality as a blocker, it's not a thing when he has the ball in his hand. Like he runs through tackles. He's never falling backwards. It's funny.
He doesn't shy away. He's not trying to like duck out of bounds to avoid.
People.
Yeah.
No. It's funny. I wanted to bring this up when we were talking about matchups. Like the one guy he didn't run through was Kyle Duggar, right? Like Kyle Duggar had his number in that. I think it was the second Patriots game.
Yes, where the Bills have their red jerseys. Kyle Duggar was every time Kincaid touched the ball, Duggar was on him like a spider monkey. Like no matter where he caught it. There was two that stick in my mind. One is like Kincaid's in the slot and he runs like a little sit route and Duggar comes from the top down and buries him.
Second
and then
he turns his head, he's
done.
Dead.
And then they do Bills are going from right to left and it's like that RPO bubble. Yep. And Duggar just senses it and just buries Kincaid again.
But here's the mismatch side to it. If you're actually going to line up Kyle Duggar, yeah, he has the physicality to match up with Kincaid. But if you line him up to play man against a actual like vertical route or intermediate route, I don't think he has the skills to match up.
What I was going to talk about, and I thought it was this year, but I think it was the previous year. I believe the second game against the Patriots 2 years ago, Kincaid's rookie year, that's when he had that huge deep ball completion against Duggar because they played cover one and it was Duggar on Kincaid and Kincaid just burned the hell out of him deep, which made me think like that's stuck in Duggar's brain going into this year. And he's like, I need to get that back. Yeah, he can't stay with Kincaid downfield. That's such a good juxtaposition.
Here's the interesting thing to that too. Another layer is he runs an over route in that same Patriots game and Marte Mapu comes and undercuts it, and he has the speed to get under the ball.
He should have picked it off. He
probably should have. It honestly probably wasn't the greatest placement. Once again, Josh Allen not having the best placement, only to Kincaid.
Right, crazy.
But that's to say, like he's such a unique mismatch because we just talked about like 3, 4, 5 different defenders where, if you can somehow compile them into one human, then you got it. But like, you need all of those varying skill sets. Like Mapu's a little bit faster than Duggar, so he can match up with him on an over route. But like, is he going to blow him up on a simple stick route? I don't know. Like Kincaid might work through that and get yards.
How does he function against Kincaid if Kincaid's blocking him? Like, is it advantage Kincaid? The fact that we're even asking that question is already kind of beneficial to Kincaid as it is.
So it's really crazy to even talk about the pass catcher versatility stuff, but I wanted to get this one stat in on the screen. So through 2 weeks of the season, because I watched all of his targets in order and I was just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, you texted me some stuff and I was like, oh, he's keying into it.
Through the first 2 weeks of the season, Kincaid was averaging negative 0.3 air yards per target.
Crazy.
Which is the fewest among 30 tight ends with at least 5 targets. So like the sample size is low, but I put the qualifier very low for this and he was still fewest because he had negative air yards per target. He had 6 targets for what it's worth. Then in those 2 weeks, he had 9.4 yards after the catch per reception, which was second most among tight ends with at least
because of all that space on the little
because
RPO.
He has all the space in the world with those RPO, bubble screens, flat screens. It works. Yeah. But it got to a point where they were like, we got to mix something in. And honestly, they started in week 3. They were like, we got to get him going vertical and intermediate on these in breakers, stuff like that. And it worked. Once you diversify the portfolio a little bit with him, like it really helps get defenders off the line of scrimmage and then opens the RPO bubbles up later in the season. You got to mix it up a little bit. But I did feel like they spammed it a little too much throughout the entire season, not just those first 2 weeks. That was just when it was a clean stat.
Yeah.
But I really want them to get him going vertically a little more and peppering in the RPO bubbles here and there. It doesn't need to be the staple that it was. It feels like it was over 50% of his receptions this
Yeah, they
year.
spam the hell out of it. And
Yeah.
I think that's a really good segue into the schematic usage part. And just so much, you and I talked about it a bit offline here. Like one of my big takeaways in watching all the Kincaid tape and then the tape of all these other tight ends was not only just how much other tight ends get plays designed for them, again, for different reasons, right? Different offenses have different quality of players, different coordinators, different philosophies. Like, so there's reasons for all of it, but it's a fact to say, like, the tight ends we're going to be showing, like, the offenses kind of funnel through them to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Kincaid is just one piece of an everybody eats philosophy and mentality.
I do have a stat for that, but keep going. Keep going.
So much of that usage, like you said, was just, and we saw it throughout a lot of the year, and it makes sense. Like Brady did such a good job for Allen of just making football like basic math. Like, hey, we got to run play with a pass tag, or whether it's a traditional RPO, whatever it is. And so much of it was just a lot. And a lot of the ones going to Kincaid and even some to Shakir were the runs with the pass tag, where it's like, hey, we got 3 receivers over here to the right. If I see there's only 2 defenders out there, or even if it's 3.
Yeah, we got numbers and you're good after the catch.
Or if it's 3 out there and the one guy is a little too far inside, I think we got leverage. Screw it, I'm throwing the pass tag.
You're falling forward for 5.
Yes, and that's it. And we saw so much of that, which is why like Allen would spit it out fast to Shakir or Kincaid, and they would get like 5 yards.
It's an extension of the run game.
It's exactly right. Like it used to be the screen game was the extension of the run game. Now the extension of the run game is passes coming out of RPOs or these runs that have pass tags attached to it. For those who don't know what that means, run with a pass tag is essentially just, it's different from an RPO. An RPO is more, you've got the run action, you're reading something specific, and then you're either throwing the ball or handing it off to running back based on that specific thing. Usually you're reading an edge defender or an apex defender. Sometimes it's a safety and you're going from there. A run with a pass tag is more of a pre-snap numbers type of deal. If we've got a numbers advantage in the box, I'm going to stick with the run. If we've got a numbers advantage outside because they're crowding the box with numbers, I'm essentially keeping the ball and I'm spitting it out right away. Think of, the Keon Coleman long catch against the Titans where he gets that one step slant. That's a run with a pass tag where the Titans literally had like 10 guys in the box. Allen sees that it's one-on-one and he's like, okay, I'm just going to throw the ball. And the rest of the offense plays it out like they think it's a run, and Allen just spits it out to Keon Coleman. But that's how he was getting the ball a ton. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that usage, I thought, and this is tied into thoughts that I had for last year as well, for as much as the Bills offense hummed, I thought their in-structure passing game wasn't up to snuff for a large part of the year. A lot of their best passes, especially early on, but through the majority of the year, really was Allen going into scramble mode and making something happen. A lot of what this offense was a killer ground game and a diversified run game. Josh Allen being an alien unicorn on the ground, and then Josh Allen being an alien unicorn through scrambles. Like the in-structure, in-rhythm passing attack had a lot of hiccups. Like guys weren't getting open. Part of it was because they didn't have a true X. They bring in Amari Cooper. Things open a little bit, but it doesn't open up enough. Kincaid gets hurt. And I think part of it was the play design and schematics that Brady had. And I tie that into what I want to see more from with Kincaid. I don't want the 12 personnel stuff to go away. I don't want him to not be hipped off anymore and all that stuff like I mentioned. But I want more quasi-X stuff. Like, give me a 3-by-1, and he's the one on the backside. Like, I want him used more as a receiver in a multitude of ways because I think teams are going to have a problem covering him there on the outside, especially with how diversified they are with the receiving room now. And even losing Matt Collins, I think, is a significant blow because of how good of a blocker he was. He essentially was like another tight end when he was out there on the field, how good of a blocker he is. But I need more quasi-X stuff from Dalton Kincaid. Give me, and with the addition of Jackson Hawes, give me 13 personnel with a 6th offensive lineman on the field. And the condensed part, the body's all by the line of scrimmage. Knox can be your Y or Hawes can be your Y. I don't care. The other one is hipped off of him, and Alec Anderson is hipped off of them. Or let's flip it further. Alec Anderson is your Y, and Kincaid and Hawes are hipped off of Anderson. And then what do you have as the solo receiver out there? It's Dalton Kincaid. And what are you doing? Are you playing him with a corner? Cool. Is it one-on-one? Probably, because you respect the heavy personnel package that the Bills have and how good their run game is. Now you've got one-on-ones on the outside, or you can just stick with the ground game that works out of those looks. You have the opportunity to run duo. You can do the blast motion counter and power stuff. You can do weak side mid zone and throw motion attached to it, or just stay as is. There's so much that can work with that. I don't want the 12 and him being within the formation to go away, but I really do want to just see more of him as a quasi X, because I think that's where you unlock the mismatch potential.
I completely agree with all of that. And honestly, it's back to the broad point that I talked about early in the episode. Like, I think they showed their hand early with drafting Hawes. I really think it told us everything we needed to know about what they think of Dalton Kincaid and how they can maximize him in the offense. I think they know what he is, where he lacks some ability, but where they can get the most out of him. And that's as a receiver. If you want to get the most out of that draft pick, you need to free him up. And I think getting Jackson Hawes, it only opens up the menu more for Dalton Kincaid, and honestly more for Joe Brady in the offense holistically. It allows them to do so many different unique things with personnel groupings and dictating to the defense. You just went through one example there. Like,
there's so many like that.
There's so many different permutations.
And it really does have to happen.
That.
And I do think it happens more outside. Like, you can do stuff with him in the slot. Like, I like the idea of having him be the number 3 to the trip side, because then you're probably getting him lined up on a linebacker on the inside there, depending. But Shakir is that slot guy, and I like Coleman a little more in the slot.
I get what you're saying in get him into the pseudo X thing, because when you get Kincaid into the slot, truthfully, all it's going to do is get him into a stick route. And I want him to do a little bit more than that.
He can run so much more of the route tree there on the
so much more. Like, he has a great feel for the middle of the field over ball stick routes. Like, he's a really reliable option in that way, and he'll probably get more yards after the catch than others doing it. But I still think you can maximize him more than just, hey, run this quick stick, run this over ball. Like, Dawson Knox can do that. Like, we don't need to use Kincaid to do that. So I understand why you're saying, like, I'd prefer him doing this than get him as the number 3 in the slot.
Which I crazy like. Though. I just think
it's just maximizing. It's just maximizing. That's all it is. It's not to say that we don't want it. It's just we want to see other things worked in. We want to see this turn the dial up on this a little bit more.
I'd like to see him more than just like the RPO guy, or more than just like the blocker. Like, give me.
We're not maximizing the skill set.
No. Treat him like an X, especially with. You don't really have a true X. Like, you're hoping Keon Coleman could grow into it. You've got Palmer who can do your spurts and flashes of it. Just lean into Kincaid doing that, like, and then see what you got going from there. And then you can get creative with motions and personnel packages and exploded formations and resetting the formation after, like in shifts. There's a lot of things you can do to monkey with the defense and play Jedi mind tricks.
I mean, you're absolutely right in terms of the lack of a true X on this team. Like, the right move is to do it by committee.
Yes.
Between Palmer, between Coleman.
Do it in the aggregate.
Kincaid. Exactly. No, seriously, moneyball it. There's no reason not to. There's a bunch of people who aren't necessarily clean prototypes for the X role, but a bunch of guys that have parts of it. So yeah, do it in the aggregate. I don't think that's a problem. And that's kind of how this offense runs anyways. It's just do everything in the aggregate. Like, we just talked about the RPO game being an extension of the run game. Like, it's doing it in the aggregate. The Bills couldn't figure out the run game for years, and like, that's helping it. So
that's true.
Right. Like, why are we complaining? I do want to get back to, you made a comment on how Kincaid isn't like the focal point of the offense the same way Trey McBride or Brock Bowers are, right? Mm-hmm. And I have this one stat, % of targets per route.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because I've got volume stats, which are just crazy. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, the volume stats are nuts for those guys. It's insane.
Yeah.
So specifically, this is why it's funny, because McBride and Bowers are going to be brought up in this, but Kincaid was targeted on 29% of his routes run in 2024.
Okay.
That's the second highest among tight ends, 36 tight ends with 250 plus routes.
Okay.
So Kincaid only had 259 routes, so I set the qualifier right up against his. McBride and Bowers were like well into the 500s, right?
He's so crazy.
Yeah. They ran a lot of routes. But here's
Yeah.
the thing. This is why it's an interesting comment where you're saying the offense isn't focused on Kincaid the way it is for these two.
Mhm.
So Kincaid was second among these 36 tight ends. First was McBride. Third was Bowers.
Fair. But
So
my thing is more of the way they're targeted. Like what's designed for them versus.
I completely agree. But there's still the component of when Kincaid is running a route, he is the focal point of the offense.
Well, it's
the
also,
same way he is for these other tight ends.
Yes, but I think that speaks to Kincaid's individual ability more than it does the scheme opening him up. Like like they are running purposeful things where the
designer
design
plays
is going,
for them.
The designers,
not even just RPO designers.
No, like what and low red zone, intermediate part of the field, like in your own end, like they are running designers for these guys. Kincaid, again, the RPO stuff is probably going to function into it like a high amount in terms of that stat,
target percentage.
Yes,
probably
that's like the biggest designer thing that isn't even really a designer thing for Kincaid. It's just a numbers thing. Like that could be anybody that they're spitting it out to. Granted, not necessarily anybody, but you get what I'm saying. That's a crazy good stat because I think that speaks more towards Kincaid's ability and what Allen thinks of Kincaid than it does the offense designing things for Kincaid as opposed to those other guys.
We're completely in lockstep because I'm not spitting that out there being like, oh,
I love that stat. It just puts it into perspective. Like I would have never thought that.
Relative to the amount of routes that he runs, he is being targeted at a rate that is equal to these guys that we're heralding as best as at the position as pass catchers.
Which is also crazy too, that he doesn't have the same semblance of production at a rate basis. Like obviously the volume is not the same because their volume is crazy high compared to his. But that's a great stat pull. And again, I think it fits in so well with this conversation because you see that and you're like, oh, so like, they are designing things for him. And it's like, no, this just means he's winning or Allen is looking to him versus these other guys. Again, we're going to show some of it. Even just like with what Arizona does with like all their tight end delay stuff, like so much of it is just like, where's Trey McBride? Where's Trey McBride? And then the Raiders doing, where's Bowers? And what Ben Johnson did for Sam LaPorta all the time. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like but especially Bowers and McBride, who are volume monsters and the focal point of the offense is,
I kind of want to, I'm trying right now to filter out all the behind the line of scrimmage targets to see how.
I'll say watch it drop to like 2%. No, that'd be crazy.
No, it wouldn't go that low, but I can't imagine it would go much lower than 20.
But it's an interesting point. Like not even an interesting point. That's a valuable stat pool to kind of put that into perspective for kind of how he's using that focus. I like that. Anything else on schematic usage or you want to dive into the tape?
I think let's dive into the tape because honestly, I think schematic usage will probably come up even more as we get examples.
Copy that. All right. So let's dive into the tape. I should probably share my screen. That'd probably be a great idea, right? All right. I'm going to take off the banner down there so we can see everything. Okay, cool. So I've got a bunch of different plays, clip, Kendall. I grabbed all three of those ones from the Titans game because I thought they really spoke to several aspects of the game that I wanted to speak to, that I knew we were going to speak to. This is the first one. This is third. This isn't first in sequential order, but the first play, obviously, we're going to look at here. This one is on a 3rd and 12. Bills are down 10-7. Here's Kincaid down at the bottom of the screen. And I think this, again, some of the things we were talking about, right? Like, what do you have up here? Like, you got a 3. Here's the 1. Kincaid is in that reduced split or a squeeze split, nasty split, however you want to look at it. But basically that quasi X. I love when they do that. And then they've also got the running back kind of in an exploded alignment here. So it's almost like it's almost like a full, like a 3x2 instead of being a 3x1.
It's pretty much a 3x2.
It is. And that affects us here because we essentially get a smash concept with Johnson in the flat, Kincaid in the corner. And just to kind of put the athleticism in perspective, I wanted to lean in here. Just watch Kincaid go up and just get this thing. He always has his hands reversed. Like he does the opposite of what you're taught. Like he's not a diamond catcher. He's a like reverse basket catcher kind of guy. But just watch him go up, climb the ladder, tracks it the whole way. The fluidity, brings it in, survives contact, survives through the ground, 3rd and 12, bang. Like I think we forget about some of that athleticism that he brings in these types of moments on a play like this. And a good ball from Allen, too, to put it away from the safety with the cloud coverage underneath.
This is one of those sneaky things where I see him just getting to space and being quarterback friendly, because you see how much space the safety is giving him. He's hard backpedal during the stem of Kincaid's route.
There's so much space to work, yeah.
Like, what is that? 7 yards of space between him and the safety? Like,
Yeah.
if you go back through the stem of his route, you can see how hard the backpedal is from that safety. Kincaid knows what he's running, and if the space is there, he's not trying to be deceptive here. Like, there's nothing flashy about this route.
And real quick, again, this is 3rd and 12. Like the first down, I'm horrible at doing a straight line, but the first down marker is here. So the safety is significantly bailing out of that.
So
and giving
he
up that
takes
space.
the space. That exactly. You just made my point. So it's like no. It was perfect because he's backpedaling hard. He knows where the sticks are. He knows the route he has to run. The safety is giving him space. There's nothing flashy about this route. There's nothing deceptive about it. There's no pacing here.
Not a lot of suddenness, not some crazy break.
He just takes the space. He gets there for Allen quickly. It's quarterback friendly. You can see Allen gets hit as he gets rid of the ball. I mean, it's his own O-lineman. But the point is, this is a quarterback friendly route. It's nothing flashy about it. What's flashy is the catch point. The catch point is flashy. But how he gets open, it's what the defense gave him, and he just got to the spot quickly for his guy.
Exactly. Last little thing, I just like the tying in the schematic thing we talked about, because you've got Ty Johnson in this exploded alignment. Watch, it allows him to get into his route faster, which causes the corner here to sit on that route. It looks like we've got, like a cover 2 to that side. Based on how everything flows up top, I feel like this might end up being cover 6 because the corner stays with Keon underneath, but I don't know, plays out weird at the top. I hate when coverages aren't clean. It drives me absolutely insane. But either way, it looks like at the very least they're playing cloud and, a cover 2 structure to the bottom of the field. And Brownlee just sits there. He's got to honor Ty Johnson coming out of the backfield, which enhances all that space to work. So I like that little design from Brady, which is something they started doing in training camp, and then carried all the way through. Another one from this game, we talked about this play earlier. This is Jarvis Brownlee Jr., rookie out of Louisville. Very good rookie season. Underrated rookie season. Didn't get talked about a lot because Tennessee had an absolutely terrible season. Really good in press. Really good in press man. We'll go in slow-mo. Watch him just get physical with Kincaid in the stem. Like almost kind of stuns him a little bit, gets him upright, and you're like, okay, now what's going to happen? And Kincaid just embraces the contact, chops him off, separates. And then this ball gets put a little above his eye line, just plucks it, and then gets forward. This is what, again, this is a 2x2. 2 receivers here. 2 receivers here. He's not on the line of scrimmage. They've got the slot on the line here. But this is just another example, getting him out wide. The Titans chose to match him with a corner. You've got the size advantage. You've got the frame advantage. We're playing in real time. Watch him just get hit with that contact, play through, bang, snap off, and go. Again, another advantage of putting him outside. And how does a team try to match up with him in that regard?
Yeah, I know we talked about it earlier without the film, but yeah, this is the point. Like, this is the mismatch threat that he is, the versatility that he poses to defense, and how it makes it really difficult for them to figure out what to do is when you split him out wide, especially as wide as they did here, right? Like, you don't hide him in the slot. You put him out wide and you force these corners to be physical enough to deal with him. This quick little dig, it's perfect for that. It plays through the contact, and then at the catch point, once again, he shows his hands.
And this is a lot of separation. Like, and it might not seem like,
but that's through
that's
physicality. That's physical separation. That's not, the route running, route savvy stuff. That's just being gritty, being physical off the line of scrimmage and working through contact. And he's able to do that because of who he's matched up against and how they kind of played chess schematically on this play.
Yep. Just really nice piece. Again, put him outside. What are you going to do? Oh, you match him with the corner. Okay. And that's a physical corner who welcomes contact like Jarvis Brownlee. Like, that is not an easy thing to do. Again, in that same game, Keon Coleman got jacked up a bunch by Brownlee in press and a contact in his stem. Like, at the release in his stem, like, he had some issues. And Kincaid's a little bit bigger than Coleman in terms of weight and the frame aspect. So he plays that big body receiver piece, but then he's also got some athleticism and fluidity to separate after he uses some of that size and frame. This one's nice. Man coverage here against the Detroit Lions. If you know two things about the Detroit Lions defense in 2024, it was that they were significantly injured all the time and that they play a ton of man coverage, in particular cover one.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to get here. Kincaid's on the outside. 2x2 again, almost kind of like a 3x2 because we have an exploded alignment here from the running back. This is rookie cornerback Terrion Arnold. And we're just going to get Dalton Kincaid going in a little motion here. Arnold communicates and watch. Nope, just going to play through the contact. Body lean, feel the leverage. I'm just going to play this in real time so we can get a better sense of it. Separate through. And separate. And nice catch. And then this is my favorite part. Point to this guy in the first down, the little swag on top of it. So beautiful. And this is the end zone angle of it. I paused it right here. So Arnold trying right to get hands on Kincaid. You saw, I'm going to go in slow-mo.
Got two guys on him.
Yes, I was going to say, even right here, trying to get a little piece. He gets sucked in a bit. But Kincaid is already in the action with that left arm.
Yep.
He's already chopping through. You can see the flash of white. That's the glove on Kincaid's left hand. He chops through the arms. Campbell's trying to get hands on him too. But again, the leverage and the combination of his size and speed allows him to play through that. And then watch him get through. He's about to stack Arnold. Where's my head at? I'm selling vertical, body language. And then again, we don't get like eyes inside and some snap. We don't get anything like that. He just feels the lean. And you can see it a little bit too. Arnold is kind of trying
over his feet.
Exactly. And so Kincaid, all he knows he has to do is I can just turn this way and he's going to go this way for a little bit before having to get to me. He breaks that phase. And then because he's got that athleticism, watch him separate on it. Again, good separation down the field. Great ball from Allen. Right on the money. And a nice hands catch. Plays through the contact. Plays through the ground. But again, what are we getting from Dalton Kincaid? God, I love the swag at the end of that. What are we getting from Dalton Kincaid? Outside, on a corner, use him in that skill set, use him in that role schematically because he's got the size and frame and traits that present mismatch problems.
I do like the subtlety to get him in short motion here, just to kind of, so he's already moving, just so he's not static and he can get a little bit of an athletic head start. Right. So he doesn't have to go full release package on. And
you know what's cool too, real quick, what the Bills would do. This was a nice Brady thing that I like. They would do this a bunch and they would run a smash concept off of it. Like sometimes you get a traditional hitch and then, the traditional corner. This time you essentially get a little whip route from Samuel and then you get obviously the corner there from Kincaid, but they would rotate it. Sometimes the stationary guy would run the corner and sometimes the motion guy would run the underneath. And then this time it's the opposite. So this was a nice little wrinkle.
They were really good with their short motions. And I like specifically getting the tight end in short motion because it might mean, there's like a quarterback run possibility here. We're getting him in on a block, or it could mean so many different things. But for this outcome, it kind of gets him going a little bit quicker.
Yes. And
I really love the hand check. The hand check off the line of scrimmage is so big for me.
He plays right through the contact. And Arnold's a physical guy. Yes. And Arnold's physical. He welcomes that. And Kincaid's like, nah, I'm just going to play through it. Bang.
Oh, real quick. I ran the numbers. He would be 13th among those 31 tight ends if you took out all the behind the line of scrimmage stuff.
Oh, so he goes from 2nd to 13th.
2nd to 13th, it drops him about like 6.5% target rate.
I knew it.
It's definitely a decent chunk, but it's still top half of the league.
Oh yeah, right? Which I kind of guess wasn't expecting as well. Man, yeah, that's funny. Good call. Nice pull. Oh, I love this throw from this angle. It's so
the throw makes it.
This one, nothing crazy on this one. Just being super quarterback friendly on the scramble drill. You know what this one is? Touchdown against the Seattle Seahawks. What I like about this one. Watch him go across. So he's running his little drag route. As he goes, he IDs, looks back, sees what's going on with Allen. Watch him bring his eyes back. Feels and slightly can see it on a peripheral. He sees that the corner is sitting there. So what does he do? Gets his eyes back inside. Sees that Allen is on the move. Let me stop my route and get quarterback friendly and work back. And I'm wide open. Like that's just such a... he was a big scramble drill component guy a couple years ago,
Mhm.
as was Diggs. But without Diggs, I think Diggs and Kincaid were like number 1 and 2.
Mhm.
Gabe Davis was big, previous years as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, he was.
And so with Davis gone and then Diggs gone, Kincaid needed to kind of pick up that mantle. And this is a good example of him doing that. Again, what does it come down to? We talked about it. His feel for space, his feel for leverage. He understands. Like you can see him just like get his bearings. I'm looking at the quarterback. I'm looking at the coverage. I'm looking back at the quarterback. Let me find the space. And
Yeah.
not even let me find the space. I know where the space is. Let me work to it. He immediately works to the space. And even one last piece, as he turns back upfield, watch as he puts the brakes on, looks slightly banged. It's that,
Yeah.
I
You can
can't
see him
time it.
ID Dodson.
Yes, that quick little head turn right there, just to get enough sense of where this guy is so he knows I can go this way, and then I'm funneling into that space to take advantage, and that's exactly where he goes. He bends it upfield. Just really nice sense.
Big part of that too is kind of being no nonsense about it. Like he's not really trying to get into the body of Woolen or cross Woolen.
Mm-hmm.
He's very intentional about, okay, if I'm not hit at this point in this route, I'm not getting the ball on this route. So I need to make an adjustment. And as you already showed, even beyond just the basic, if I'm not hit by this point in the route, he sees Allen, he sees what's going on in the pocket. He's done all of the visual gymnastics to figure out where he needs to be QB friendly, and makes it a walk-in touchdown.
So nice. Just and this, it seems so easy, and it's like
Because
really
it's an
not.
innate feel. Like
Yeah.
he gets the spacing. It's really just something innately built in him. I don't understand it. I mean, there are people who do this really well, but it's rare. It's a rare ability. This is not something you see all across the NFL.
No, he's got just such a good feel for that space. Yeah, and bang, takes full advantage of it. Nice one there. This one, condensed look. We got some reduced formational width, but what do we have again? Surprise, surprise. A little 3 over here, a little 1 over here. This time he's on the line. We've got a quasi X. And who is he matched up against? He's matched up against PJ Locke, who is a safety. And watch him just own PJ Locke with a little out and up, and then makes a really nice catch downfield on a great ball from Josh Allen. So pretty. Also, I'm just going to mention this once. Watch the blitz pickup from Ty Johnson. I don't have the end zone angle, which I should have, but watch the blitz pickup. Boom. Just upends his man. So beautiful. So poetic. But yeah, again, matched up on safety.
Route. It's a great route. Turns his head back to the quarterback.
The timing,
really
the
sells
pacing,
the out.
the tempo. Yeah.
Really sells it. I mean, that's what you have to do on this out and up. If you're not turning over that outside shoulder, no one's going to bite and try to undercut that route. And you can see if you slow it down, when he kind of peeks over that left shoulder, you can see Locke change his angle, and he kind of gets flat and he tries to get underneath it. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is a pick. This is easy pick 6. Drives on it. And you can see right there how much Kincaid is leaning on that left shoulder and that left foot, and then he drives off of it, gets upfield on it. But you really have to sell that component, or else the route means nothing.
Look at how, like you said, like that, he's leaning on that to get here. And look at PJ Locke is hauling it to go here. And so now all of a sudden he's got to stop because Kincaid's upfield. And look at the difference now. Look at the body shape and the lean for PJ Locke, and he reaches out.
Readjust.
Exactly.
He's playing react.
Look at him now. Let me grab. I'm trying to slow him down. I'm trying to obstruct him. I'm trying to do anything I can. And again, some size and frame benefit and some fluidity because he's able to get by and not be impeded. Great ball from Allen. And this is also too like a nice catch, like a nice hands catch away from the body, falling down to the ground. You're tracking it. That's a nice grab.
You're right. He loves the basket catch.
Yep. He's not this kind of guy. He will do this. He'll do this weirdly downfield sometimes, but he is a kind of reverse hands, not a diamond. I don't know what they call this because I got yelled at every time I did it. I only know that. But yeah, that's a really nice grab. And it's cold. It's the playoffs. The ground is hard. It's easy for the ball to come loose. You got a defender draped on you.
I was wondering why I hadn't seen this one before this. I don't think I looked at any of the playoff snaps.
When you didn't include it in the list you sent to me, I was like, I bet you didn't look at the playoff snaps. This is
I
pretty much
didn't.
the one that matters the most. But yeah, I like this one a
didn't
lot.
watch any of the playoff targets.
This was towards the end of the game. I think it was like 28-7 at this point. This was one of the final nails in the coffin. Game against Tennessee here. We get a cover one look from the Tennessee Titans. They've got 3 safeties on the field. This man right here is a safety. So you've got a safety trying to cover Dalton Kincaid, mano y mano, which doesn't make sense because in Spanish that means hand to hand, which I guess could be man coverage, but whatever. When I learned Spanish, like I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why is it always, that doesn't mean one-on-one. That means, like hand to hand, which I guess, I don't know, maybe it's slang, whatever. But man coverage against the safety, advantage, Dalton Kincaid. I'm going to show it from 2 angles. Watch a little, that little stab. Safety's already leaning. He's reaching.
And the chop.
You reach, I teach. Chop right through again. Like you said, that quick little arm over to drive that disconnect. Now, let's sell vertical. You don't know where I'm going. Am I going right? Am I going left? Am I staying vertical? What am I doing? This safety is in chase mode. Want to get some separation? Bang. And then this is funny. He does make, look at, now he's got the diamond. And then this is also, too, that kind of the example, talking deep, like he's catching it while also kind of making that drop step. He's catching it,
he's trying to get upfield. He knows exactly where he is on field. He's already trying to reach for the pylon.
Good awareness. Ball comes loose, but it was a catch. Here is Kincaid again, circled there. I just like this end zone angle because really
it really shows the release.
Boom. Gets him leaning. And then it also highlights the separation. Actually, I want to go back to highlight the arm over piece. Just watch the snap. Watch it, the timing of it too, right? Like the movement as he stabs and is avoiding. As he's moving, the arm over and the chop is coming right through. It's all fluid. There's no disjointed. There's no disjointing. There's no disruption. There's no herky-jerky. That's what I say with the technical fluidity. Like it all just flows well.
He has no wasted movements. It's so efficient.
And then look at the separation on the end zone. Like, bro, like that's against a single high safety. That single high safety, unless it's Ed Reed, isn't getting that.
That safety was also driving on the route before he broke off the stem. You could see he knew that the corner route was coming, and Kincaid was just too far into it.
Yeah, he opens to it, and Allen throws it to the spot. Kincaid's able to get there. But again, separation.
It was too clean off the line of scrimmage. Like the safety had no chance. The cover one safety, that is.
Oh, so nice. Nice catch. He's already thinking, let me get into the end zone. Gets hit a little short.
Honestly, if he doesn't stumble a little bit there on the turn up field, I think he might have had the pylon.
That's clean. But again, it puts into like Tennessee is like, all right, cool. Let's go 3 safeties and try and match them this way.
Yeah.
Nope. Boom.
It's a tough answer. It's really a tough thing to defend. And the Bills really need to weaponize this more. And I truly think Jackson Hawes does that for them.
I just want him just more in space. Again, I don't want him to be just a receiver. I don't want him just to be that because it takes away some of the dictation element and the menu maximization element for the offense. But he's just such an advantage in these scenarios. Last one here. This is the target that was not a completion. A lot of people like to point at his stats and be like, oh, he doesn't have this many yards or this many touchdowns as these other guys, yada, yada. Maybe some of these reasons. We talk about the catchable targets, wide open, and Allen just puts it a little too far. Yeah. Please don't yell at me because I've slandered Josh Allen. Please don't do that. I don't know if anyone in the chat is going to do that. I know he's the MVP and yada, yada and all that, but
like he missed out on a touchdown here.
The one that yes. And the first thought that got me was like, okay, did he throw this with anticipation? And that's why, but Kincaid is already working through and Allen starts to throw this. Like this has to be a completion. Even if Kincaid slows up a little bit, you don't have to lead him that far. And if we want to play devil's advocate, it does hit him a bit on the fingertips and bobble. So maybe he still could have caught it, but it doesn't need to be as difficult of a catch as it is. The defense bites. And again, he's got a nickel corner on him. Kenny Moore, still one of the best nickels in the league. Kenny Moore tries to create some contact, create a collision point, and watch Kincaid just play through it.
Yeah, kind of arm over him.
Yep, and just goes through.
Yeah,
and he's wide open. Just a little bit of a missed opportunity there between the two. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, he's got the goods. It's really just piecing it all together in terms of usage, in terms of figuring out this catchable target rate thing. Like everything is there. Everything is there for Kincaid. And I think, I know this is the last thing, so I'm kind of doing more of a summary, but everything is there for Kincaid. It's really just about all of it coming together in year 3, because we saw so much of it in year 1. And I think a lot of people thought he took that step back this year, but you can see there are so many moments in the film where you're like, he didn't take a step back. There were just some opportunities that didn't come to fruition the way it did as a rookie. So I think there's still a lot of reasons to be excited, especially on the pass catching front.
I agree. Now, let's take a look at Dalton Kincaid, the run blocker. Going to show some good, show some bad. So we got a 3-by-1 here. He's not on the line. Shakir is on the line, but show some of what he can do. This is Dalton Kincaid on former Bill Jordan Poyer right here, but just to kind of give a sense, just watch the willingness, the effort. This is a good block from Kincaid. Maybe a little bit of a hold, but the willingness, the contact, he sustains it, gets a little too far out inside, but then again, Cook cuts back. That's not his fault, but look at him get on him, get his hands on, drives them. I will take that every day. If he can just do that more, that's awesome considering the pass catcher that he is. And even look at the little nastiness on the end of it. As he drives him, I'll watch him chuck him a little bit. A little bit of some nastiness, although kind of chucks into Mac Hollins.
But that's what we mean. Like, he's very willing. It's not about an effort thing. The effort is there. It's really just a technique thing. Fully
his hand placement
side of it. Yeah, you can see the hand placement there, the slight hold at the end of it when Cook hits the cut
because his hands get a little bit too outside of Poyer's frame and he gets a little out of control. Like,
it's just small polishing things, and you can kind of start to maximize what he is as a blocker. But I mean, I don't want to say he's close to maximized, but like, he can get better. But yeah, I think when we went the scale 1 to 10, like, I don't think he's ever going to eclipse 6, but I was
literally saying like he could climb to like a 5.5.
I think it's possible to get to 6, and that's it. It's going to take some time. There's things to clean up, but you can see the potential here. And I think the effort is the biggest thing when it comes to blocking potential.
Yes. It's a huge, huge piece, especially considering how much of a plus he is as a receiver. Again, like we talked about this one, I didn't remember this in the season. I really like the design of this one. I'm going to let this play out. Watch him. They're faking like they're giving this to Cook, and then we get a little orbit toss, right? And Kincaid is still right here. He puts a pivot on. And again, these two examples I wanted to show, right? Who's the first guy that he's having a successful block against? Jordan Poyer. Who's this next one is he having a successful block against? Yes, Jalen Ramsey. Yeah. So 2 defensive backs, guys that he has the size advantage against. Sure. He is a willing blocker, but because the technique and the size and frame from a thickness standpoint isn't there, he's not going to be, the guy that he's going to win on the line of scrimmage against defensive linemen or against bigger thumping type of linebackers. But you get him on DBs, the effort and then the size and frame allows him to win. So he puts the brakes on, goes outside. Let's watch him finish here. Just get on Ramsey, bang, gets low, pops him, drives him out a little bit. I don't care what happens in the rest of the play. Look at that. Ramsey tries to meet him. Boom.
I mean, even before you went down to break down like how they're getting him on defensive backs, just the idea of getting him on the move to block people is already a win. Like, you want to maximize his movement skills, almost use him as a lead blocker in a sense here. It makes so much sense. If we can get him to a point where he can start taking on like some weak side linebackers, that's a huge win.
Yes.
But that's, like I said, a huge win and probably a bit down the road. But yeah, this is a great design. I also did not remember this at all.
A little bit of a counter feel to it.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to I'm going to circle Spencer Brown. Watch Spencer Brown trip.
He moves on this one.
He trips and then still buries. He still buries Brooks. Crazy. But yeah, I like this little design. And again, what do? Get Kincaid out in space. A little mismatch advantage as a blocker. I like this one too because he'll get a bit upright at times. I'm going to show it on some of the ones that he struggles. I like that he gets low,
this. Yeah.
Lead. This is like you're kind of hitting that pad and they teach you're trying to make 3 points of contact all at once. It's the front of your helmet, your forehead there, along with your hands. You're trying to get all 3, bring your hips and jam and bring yourself through. he creates those points of contact and then plays
Mm-hmm.
through. You see a little bit of the weight transfer through the hips up
Up.
through the body, and look at it, knock Ramsey back. It knocks him on his heels, widens that hole a little bit, takes him out of the play.
Yep. It's more than obstruction. It's moving people.
A little bit of some people movement. Example here against another defensive back, this time for the Cardinals. This is early in the season, week 1. This is kind of like the good and the willing, but also not so great. Like, I'd love for him to sustain this a little more. Gets left behind a little bit. Allen still scores, but this is one, like, clean up that technique. If you watch,
he has him.
Yes, but the hands, they're just a little
wide.
Get inside the frame, or if you're going to get those hands, you got to clamp down and then bring your feet. Understand your angle. Understand your body positioning. He just gets peaked and then left. Like, this disconnect and this discard.
I was just going to say disconnect. Like, it seems like there's so much disconnection between, like, his core and his limbs on this one. It feels like he's way too head over toes. Way too lungy on this, and he's just trying to get to the block versus get to the block with, like, good body positioning, like a sturdy base. He's not really driving through him in any way. He's just kind of like lunging at his chest.
Your hands are what control, your feet are what drive, and he forgets to bring his feet. Like, he comes through, good, drive, right? And then he almost kind of like stops moving his feet, like he's just chilling.
Well, because he never had his hands at that point.
Bang. And now he's disconnected, and then he gets caught lunging and leaning. Finish that man. Like, you have the size and frame advantage. I want you to drive him through the end zone. Like, get into him, bury him. Also, even from a design standpoint, granted, you don't necessarily know, like, where the run is going to go. But if Allen is keeping this thing, he's going out here. So if anything,
you kind of want to seal that outside shoulder.
You want to be here so Allen can beat that edge defender to the corner. So it's just body positioning, a little better hand placement, bringing your feet. Again, some things to clean up, but the willingness is there. The want to is there. Here's him attached in the line of scrimmage. Heavy look here. Alec Anderson is a 6th offensive lineman. Then you've got Knox here and Mr. Kincaid highlighted over there. This is where we start to see some of the struggles. Just watch him get tossed around a little bit. This is Mac Wilson for the Cardinals. Just rag down him a little bit there. Like, and you see that you want to see a bit more of ownership of that inside. He's more nail than he is hammer. Wilson's starting to get through him. He gets put upright. There's no force. He's getting knocked off his feet. Then he gives up the inside, and then Wilson just chucks him and ragdolls him. And that's where you start to see, again, against more like physical linebackers, against bigger bodies in general, but more physical guys, that's where you start to see the technique will kind of hinder him a little bit. And it needs to be on point, again, because he is more of a lankier frame type of guy.
And I do think that's where some hope can still remain is when you watch some of this, you're like, there is some technique that he could clean up and some stuff that,
even if it's just body position,
tapping into.
Just turn a little bit and seal. Just be more of an obstructor. I don't need you to drive him to the moon. It'd be sweet. But just
when
obstruct.
you set this block up, you need to set it up stronger on your right shoulder. You need to get inside of him much stronger.
Yeah.
I do honestly get a little bit more hopeful from some of these losses because you see how poor the technique is. And you're like, we have people who can coach him on that. And we see that he's willing. Willingness plus lack of technique means room to grow.
Yes. Very fair. That one there. Another one against the Arizona Cardinals. He uses a lot of that, and it's the technique they teach the offensive linemen. It's like the Cromer technique, and then Boris teaches as well. Like, they'll chop down that hand and use it to try and get inside position, whether they turn and base block a guy or just
like first things first, get inside by chopping.
Chop and then get that inside position, even if you're just shielding him and kind of going through him as opposed to like getting hands on and turning and grabbing and driving out.
You reestablish hands later.
Yes. But sometimes you'll see them, they'll chop that hand. And instead of kind of turning to meet the guy, they'll just continue to go this way because the whole idea is they want to win inside position and make this guy go like this. Because by the time he does that, this run is already hit north and south, and they're not going to get there because of the angle. But you'll see Kincaid go for that move. And again, this is a bigger bodied edge. This is Stills. Like, this is a 286 pound. So not the biggest
5 tech. That's like a true 4-eye type player.
That's going to be a mismatch for a lot of tight ends. but it just puts into perspective, like, this is not what you want for him. And again, it's disadvantage for him. This is an area where, well, he should be owning this guy, but you'd like to see him obstruct him a little bit more if possible. Instead, it's just a straight, like, no, let me just get out of my way. Like, he just knocks him back.
No, but you're right. Like, this is a really good example to show some of the ways that Joe Brady might feel limited.
Yes.
In how he's calling plays, how he's setting up his personnel packages, stuff like that. Like, when you're playing odd front defenses, it's probably a little bit more difficult to get Dalton Kincaid in line.
And when you're blocking a dude that has that much weight on you, like, look at this. Like, there's no power in that base. You are upright. You're already getting knocked back. Like, there's no lean. There's no leverage. There's no drive. You are, like, at a disadvantage there for a bit, and you just gets driven back into the backfield. This one here, this is a good example of what you can do to kind of counter some things. So you'll see defenses or offenses will do this, like they will arc this tight end. So this is Odafe Owe rather than have Kincaid block him. I love this play design. And again, this isn't just a Bills thing. You see college teams do it, NFL teams do it. They will arc this tight end. So he's going to kind of show to kind of hold and influence this man, then circle around and go to Brandon Stevens. So again, now you get him on a corner, which is an advantage to Kincaid. And then what's really nice is the influence here holds away, and then Gilliam comes and just cleans him out. But we'll go in slow-mo here. So a little influence. Now, what's Owe doing? Looking to be like, oh, okay, he's going to base block me. Let me go after him. And Kincaid's like, psych, I'm going to the corner. And now Owe is like, uh-oh, I was just acting on this. And here comes Reggie Gilliam, who just, boom, drives him out to widen the hole. And now you've got Kincaid. Going back to focus on Kincaid, just watch Kincaid get onto Stevens, willingness, and then drive him.
Drives him, yeah.
You even see, again, he's still a little high, right? Like, he's not low, but because he has the size and frame advantage,
he can get away with it.
High.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just gets frustrating, you know, because you want to see him work onto the bigger bodies, and you don't want to see the offense get so limited from that perspective. But this works here. Like, this is really good play design in terms of work with what you have.
Yeah. Some things you can do. All right. Now, Dalton Kincaid inserting size advantage on Budda Baker. Budda Baker is an absolute Wolverine. And you see Baker just jump inside.
This will tell us a lot.
Yeah, right. Jump inside. What is he doing? He's leaning. He's lunging a little bit. The body positioning is off, and you see him kind of just crumple. Tries to almost tackle him a little bit. Could have been called for a hold. Doesn't get called for a hold here. There's another hold that gets called somewhere else on this play. Yeah, see the ref throw the flag there. But if we play just in real time again, watching Kincaid go through, you see him just gets caught a little bit too much. Baker's super physical, juiced up, has the leverage advantage and the lower center of gravity. But you'd like to see Kincaid just bring the feet a little bit more, get better body positioning instead of getting caught kind of too much over your toes, leaning, lunging, and essentially trying to just grab and drag.
Very similar to the other play in this Cardinals game where he's just a little odd in terms of his pursuit of this angle and how he's kind of pursuing the block engagement. And like he knows where Cook is going. Obviously, he bounces it left, but either way, if he were to take the inside shoulder a little bit stronger, he can seal him off. And I think he's like waiting for Baker to come to him versus.
Yeah, it's almost like he's waiting
kind
for
of close
Budda.
the space.
Exactly. He's almost waiting for Budda to declare, and Budda just
like
beats him to the spot.
You know where the play design is. Go establish yourself and be that obstruction. Instead, he kind of established himself like a yard too soon.
Yeah, and this is just duo. Like Anderson is working to 7 Kazir White. White beats him to the spot, so Cook just cuts it back. Like usually this hits more front side, but you know that you are like Budda Baker is your man. You know this is the unblocked defender. Budda Baker is your man. Get to your man. Don't get caught lunging. Better body position. Better kind of tempoing of it. This one's another good example, just showing the effort. Watch him try and do everything he can to stay in between his man and the ball. Might not be the cleanest or the best, but it's just effort, and actually ends up doing a good job.
That's kind of where the pass catching athleticism shows itself as a blocker.
And again, this might seem like a cop-out. Oh, if you're saying he's willing, it means he's not a good blocker. This matters. This is just pure effort. He makes a block here just because of effort. Look at him try, again, through the whole thing. Bobbing and weaving, Nope. Okay, let me try again. Nope, let me try again. Okay. And then Cook, his path allows Kincaid to eventually get a good block. But that effort matters a lot here.
Almost works symbiotically with Cook's slashing ability,
right?
Because he'll just keep slashing off of whatever this second, third,
it's like
fourth
he's
effort
trying
is.
to match Kincaid. They're
Yeah.
like tandem, like slalom skiers.
Yeah.
But
That's
again,
funny.
that effort matters.
It does. It's really a huge part of this piece there, this puzzle.
Nice run from Cook there. Jags
Yeah,
got bodied in this game. Here's a good example of that, kind of just the lack of physicality. He's going to go for that arm chop, right? And watch him just chop the arm, and then nothing happens, and he just gets driven into Cook. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
And see, now this is one where, again, it's almost like he gets caught in that body position aspect. I don't know if he was trying to just run through him and make him go this way so he could climb and get Wiggins. But the movement here, like, he just does it and he's stationary. And then before he knows it, the defender's into him because he's almost like still looking at Wiggins like he's trying to get through, but he's hooked.
Yeah.
And he just gets driven down the line and into James Cook.
Yeah, it kind of looks like I think you have this. He knows he has 2 assignments here, and he kind of got little preoccupied with assignment number 2 and never really finished assignment number 1.
Yeah, because again, they'll hit that quick hand, make this guy go this way, and then go and get this guy, because here you go. Now you've got a man accounted for. You create this unblocked defender out here, but you don't care because he's going upfield and he's not going to be able to do anything to get this quick hitting run inside. And you've got a hat on a hat everywhere else.
I mean, worst comes to worst, you don't get to assignment 2. I like Cook's chances to make Wiggins miss.
Yeah. I mean, if that does happen and you get like a seal there, like maybe he gets a little cleaner through here. Again, Hamilton's in a good spot, so maybe it's only a couple yards difference, but
sure.
Just the example there of Dalton Kincaid as a blocker, lack of physicality there, and how that can be a bit of a hindrance. Kendall, anything else on the pure Dalton Kincaid aspect as a pass catcher, run blocker, before we show some tape of some other good tight ends and then get out of here?
I think the main thing for Kincaid that I'm taking away, because I watched my own blocking stuff, but I didn't get nearly as far through as I know you did. There's still stuff to work with here. Like, I really want to harp on that, like, willingness piece. And I know
it's not a cop-out. That matters a lot. The willingness matters a lot.
I know it's so stupid and it sounds like nothing, but like, football is a physical sport. If you don't want to be physical, you're not going to succeed. He wants to be. There might be some physical limitations, but he wants it. And that's more than half the battle in football. So I really, really, truly think getting some of these technical and some of the I guess, mental assignment stuff cleaned up in terms of like decision making on like, oh, should I force stronger on the inside or the outside shoulder? Where should I prioritize my seal, hand placement stuff, being consistent with your base and your hand placement, all of that, like, symbiotically working together. All that technique stuff can work itself out through your time being a pro. And it will get better, but it can't get better unless you're willing. And I think he has that knocked out. So I'm hopeful it will get better, but it's going to be piece by piece. It'll be incremental.
I like the comments here. James says the spirit is willing, and then Music Blogger 87 said, but the flesh is weak. That was good.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Good
so
job,
now good job, chat. All right, we're gonna show some stuff here for 3 tight ends: Trey McBride, Sam LaPorta, and Brock Bowers, just as a point of reference for how other guys are used, and also just as a point of reference. So Dalton Kincaid, alignment snap rates from 2024. 26.8% of the time he was in line, so attached to the line of scrimmage. 56.4% of the time he was in the slot. 15.7% of the time he was out wide. So not a lot of inline tight end stuff. That was Knox. That was Alec Anderson, even Quentin Morris. So you're seeing him more in the slot, more out wide, more of a pass catching element. First guy here, we're going to show Trey McBride. So again, Kincaid, 26.8% of the time in line. Trey McBride, 39.9% of the time he was in line. So almost a 13.1 percentage point increase from an inline perspective, which is a lot.
Mhm.
Slot, decently close. McBride 51.9% to Kincaid's 56.4%. Out wide is the big difference. McBride only 7.7% of his snaps came out wide. Kincaid's, again, 15.7%. Huge target share difference as well.
What did he have? 147 targets this season?
So yeah, Kincaid, just regular season, 75 targets per SIS in 2024. Trey McBride, 146. So almost a full doubling, second most for tight end in the NFL. Bowers was first at 154. And then this is also crazy considering the volume, right? The volume that McBride had. So those 146 targets, second amongst all tight ends. Out of 36 tight ends with at least 40 targets, he was tied for 11th in EPA per target. He was second in overall EPA, and he was sixth in positive play percentage. And that is the percentage of passes thrown to him that resulted in positive EPA, or i.e. a successful play for the offense. So from a volume standpoint, he cooked. From an efficiency standpoint, he cooked. Compared to Kincaid, again, out of those 36 tight ends with at least 40 targets, Kincaid was 21st in EPA per target versus McBride's 11th. Kincaid was 22nd in EPA to McBride's second. And then positive play percentage is that big one. McBride was sixth. Kincaid was 33rd out of 36 tight ends in positive play percentage, or percentage of passes thrown to him that resulted in positive.
We got to
EPA.
find a way to filter these stats for catchable targets.
That is also, but see, that's literally next to my notes there. Like, so the uncatchable aspect obviously playing a role.
We got to find a way, a database.
Let's just watch some stuff on Trey McBride balling out. I think the physicality and the size after the catch is a big difference with McBride. Trey McBride is, we were talking about it offline, one of the best tight ends in football overall. Better blocker than he gets credit for. He's big, he's athletic, he's physical, he's got good hands, he's got some crispness and suddenness to his routes, but he's also got athleticism and kind of a bit of a bulldozer feel to him.
Yeah.
When I tweeted this play during the season, I said he just turns into a T1000 after the catch down. Here's another one again. We talked about that 13 percentage point difference in inline versus Kincaid. Here he is in line. Spread look, but he's still in line. This catch is insane. Not a lot of suddenness, not a lot of deception on the route, but watch the speed. Watch how he just eats up the cushion against the safety and then plays through him and makes a crazy good catch. Oh. And draws the flag because he got held on it too. I forgot. Here's the end zone angle of it. Watch him out of his stance. I love how low he gets in his stance. You see the power in the explosion.
But he bursts out of it, yeah.
Yes. Watch this catch from this angle.
A little tripped up there.
Yep, little tripped
Keeps
up.
it through the stumble.
Knees down.
Great play.
Again, the athleticism, the power. Like, he's got more power to his movements. Like
100%.
More explosion, but from a power standpoint.
He's a little less fluid, a little more rigid than Kincaid, but he makes up for it because he has more power.
Yeah. Here's another one, vertical. This one's ridiculous. This is them down by like 3 with like a minute and 10 or 20 something left in the game. Like, this was a big play here. Again, matched up against Richie Grant. Just hauls it, hightails it, plays through him, comes back to the ball. Catch. And then the wherewithal.
Yeah, to try and fight for more.
Yep, to be like, wait a minute. I'm not down. Let me get up. And then carry some guys a little bit. And then he lets Jesse Bates know about it. Gets it right in his face, lets him know a little bit. This is the end zone angle on it. I just like the way he tracks the ball, comes back to it. Again, you see him hightailing it out. Let me track. I love how he doesn't try to just let the pass interference happen. He plays through.
No, he wants the ball.
Yep, plays through. And that's a hard catch. I hate to say this, but
that is the catch. That's literally the catch
you would have loved for Kincaid to make that kind of catch. Granted, the ball was like helicoptering a bit.
Fluttering.
But dang, yeah. Get up. Oh, just real pretty. This one's a nice one. Just the athleticism as he plays through.
Yeah, his hands, you don't think someone that moves like him, because he moves like he's a blocking tight end in so many ways. Like, he's such a straight line mover, doesn't have the best lateral agility, but he's really good hand-eye coordination.
I also love on this one, Ernest Jones here, number 13. I love how McBride sees him and makes sure as he's in his drop to make sure he
get
gets
underneath.
that cut. Yep, exactly. It flattens. Good ball from Kyler. Good adjustment from Trey McBride. The athleticism, the power. This is talking about the design and the scheme. Arizona does a good job of like factoring things out for him and designers for him. I wish the Bills ran more tight end leak and tight end delay. I feel like it works 60% of the time. It works every time. But
Agreed.
This is just, again, more athleticism and foolishness. Sells the blocking, gets upfield, and then
Free
I'm just going to
20
jump
yards.
over
Yep.
just because I can. Sell it. Boom, get upfield, run through the contact, turnaround catch in the sunlight, has to find the ball, turns around, makes it. Just look at the fluidity too, like as he makes the catch, like just a seamless catch, get upfield, jump over it. So stupid. This one, a little bit of the athleticism and speed, but also some of the physicality, rips through that edge, runs a drag route, runs away from a corner, gets upfield. Tries to hurdle a guy again.
Yeah. He knows everyone's going low on him because he's so big.
And this one's a good example too. Rip right through, bang. Speed, the separation, the athleticism, the awareness. Just a different type of dude.
Yeah, it's just a different type of guy.
But let's watch him as a blocker, right? Because you might be thinking, okay, cool. Like, what does he do as a run blocker versus a pass protector? This is him. This is from 2 years ago. No, I don't remember. But this is the difference now. With big difference. Like, I don't think he's an amazing blocker. He's not George Kittle, but he's much more functional and much more of a plus blocker than Kincaid. And I think this is what really separates them a lot. Like, watch him block Gregory and just seal him inside.
Yeah.
Like, that's so nice. Bang. The hands, and the body position. Turns him. Just get in between. Just get in between the defender and the ball. That's it. And that's all he does. Gets the hands, a little bit of the contact, turns him inside. Moves his feet with his hands, keep turning.
It's so much more connected. Like
Yes.
This entire process of blocking is so much more connected than Kincaid's. Yes. You can see from a technical standpoint, he's generating force from the ground with a really strong wide base.
Yes. And then James Conner. James Conner is super underrated. I just want to kind of point that out. I really like this design. We're getting the blast motion, and this is going to go out to the right, and he slams on the brakes, and it turns into split zone.
Oh.
And watch him ID Jonathan Grenard, and bang. Yeah, I like.
I honestly
design, right?
I feel like they need to use Kincaid in this way more because it's kind of a cheap block, right? Like it's a really easy way to make a hard block.
Right. Good edge. Grenard comes screaming down. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I like this design more than anything. Here
I
comes
agree.
The blast motion psych. Especially with what they do with all their gap scheme stuff. You're thinking that's going to the right, and he slams on the brakes, cuts backside, little split zone, bang. Another one against Minnesota. Just what he can do on the double team.
Mm-hmm.
Big mountain of a man here, defensive tackle. Again, this isn't all him, but watch some of the displacement. Watch how low he gets into that shoulder, helps drive, creates some displacement, and then climbs to his man. But the run developed, so he doesn't get to his man. But you see a little bit, again, a semblance more of that physicality at the point of attack, what he's able to do a little bit. Create some more drive. This one here against the Rams. This is him getting beat a little bit, right? I watched multiple games of tight ends against the Rams front because they have such good edges, and I've come to the conclusion that Jared Verse and Byron Young are just absolute monsters. And, like, this isn't even Verse.
No
this
one
is
was
Young
really
and,
winning.
like,
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's
that's
just
not even Verse.
No, like, and you see McBride get initial, like, okay, I'm all right. Nope, I'm stood up. Uh-oh. So even him, again, like, he just gets driven through, and then Young makes the play. So, again, this is what I'm talking about. Like, he's not George Kittle. He's not some guy who's just erasing edges and winning in the run all the time. But even this, is decent. It's not an immediate
Yeah,
loss.
yeah.
You're not getting owned. You're just getting driven back a little bit and compressed a bit.
If this run were to cut right, you don't even care about
Correct.
what happened to McBride on this play.
Correct. Because they're running, let's see here. We got the jet motion going that way. Bit of that split zone type of look here as it comes across.
Yeah,
You're
like,
thinking this is going there.
It theoretically could one cut to the right.
Yeah, but Monteric Brown blows it up, and so Connor's like, "Uh-oh, let me go this way." The Rams tape is awesome to watch. Another one here. This one against the Chargers. Good edge play, a little feint, and hold on Khalil Mack there. Like, psych, I'm going to block you. Just kidding. Let me climb to the second level. Watch him stay attached. Watch him drive. Doesn't want to draw the hold, so he lets go. He's got the size advantage against Denzel Perryman, the linebacker that he's blocking, but see him get to the second level, get attached, move his feet, let's go when he needs to. Not amazing, but serviceable, functionable. Yep. Here's one where he struggles a little bit, right? Let's climb to the second level. Let's make a block. I get a little too ass over tea kettle.
Yeah,
just get shut.
Little head buddy there.
Yeah, leads with his head a little too much, climbing. And it's a shame, too, because the approach isn't bad. Wide base,
no,
he's ready.
In good position. I don't know why he just led with his head.
But again, putting this out there for like folks who see this and think like, oh, Kincaid can't do what these other guys do. Like, these guys still have like some ugly areas to their game. And this is a tight end who I love in Trey McBride. Nice one here. So we'll go down the line, watch him meet Metellus. Boom. See, he's got a little more hammer to his game. You see a little more of the thud. Boom. Meet him, stalemate him, stall him out.
Sustain too.
Yep. Metellus is trying to play through him a little bit in case that run leaks out, and it's just not happening with McBride.
Yeah.
This one here, little double team action on Braden Fisk. Seal him, move him, stay on him, and then try and get to the second level.
Try to
make an impact on the linebacker. Yep.
It's very clear, like, if from the blocking and the receiving of McBride, like, sure, McBride might lose a step a little bit on Kincaid when it comes to route savviness and separation skills, maybe release off the line of scrimmage, but it's not enough. Like, what he has on Kincaid as a blocker, it's the value almost equals out. And honestly, it might even be greater for McBride because of what it means to his offense and his scheme.
I think
because he can do more because of how well-rounded he is. Like, sure, you can't split him out wide the way you can with Kincaid, and that might take some plays off your menu. But Kincaid's doing the same thing in the blocking aspect.
Different ways.
He's taking plays off the menu in a different way.
I think, like, for me, like, Kincaid on a scale of 1 to 10 as a receiver is like an 8.5 or a 9. I think McBride is like an 8 to an 8.5. The athleticism.
I was gonna say more like a 7.5. Honestly,
I just think McBride he's such a better route runner than he gets credit for, and his feel for zone and space has grown
that's my thing with him. I think it's more of a feel for zone than it is the pure route running like Kincaid.
Is for sure. But then he's also,
and what he does after the catch is just crazy.
I also think he's a better blocker for like
way better.
From a 3.
Exactly.
Like, so I feel like if you add up the run blocking and the pass aspect on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like
it aggregates.
I feel like he's like a 15 and Kincaid's like a 13.
Yep.
All right, now let's look at some Sam LaPorta, who had one of the best offensive minds designing things for him at Detroit. One of my biggest gripes the past year was like, man, I really thought Brady would tap into some of the Ben Johnson tight end stuff, especially as they went more condensed and more run focused like the Lions have been. But here's Sam LaPorta. This route is awesome. Sell in the corner, psych. Just completely. And again, it's tied to the play action, but
the way they use him deep, like it's so different from most tight ends.
Yes. Again, that's an excellent point. Like, because he gets compared to LaPorta so much, but their usage is so much different. The style of offense they're in is so much different.
Yeah.
And I say that as a person who had LaPorta ahead of Dalton Kincaid in my draft rankings, and I would still take LaPorta ahead of Kincaid right now. But I like that route, like sell it, get that safety to open up. Like he times it as soon as he sees Grant really open up and
drive laterally.
Yep, bang, it's over. But again, it's tied to design and a little bit to LaPorta. That is designed for LaPorta. Like,
Yeah,
you
the
could
whole
do
way.
that for Kincaid. This is a really nice one. Him lined up as that quasi X, working through a linebacker. I'm going to show how this route develops, really, because I just want to show the end zone angle. Full extension on the catch. Yeah. Play through the contact. Again, not as technically sound. Like, he gets the arm over a little bit, but he really just plays through more physically than he does from a technique standpoint.
I mean, the receiver skills that he always possessed and then going to Iowa helped him so much.
Yes.
Really well-rounded his game. He was always a great receiver.
Just look at that. That's so pretty. Now, again, but not the separation, not the level necessarily of athleticism, but the physicality and the hands allow him to have that success there. That's actually decent coverage too there.
Oh, yeah.
But this ain't enough. This one I like. This, again, some LaPorta, some design. Let's send him on the motion. He's going to throttle down. Still on that right side. Watch him get vertical and get into the body of Jalen Johnson, and then snaps it off and creates separation against the premier corner. Nice. But again, that's some LaPorta. That's some Ben Johnson. Get him in motion. Look at what Jalen Johnson does. Number one on the far right of the screen. He is almost leaving our screen because he thinks LaPorta is going to keep going. So Ben Johnson created some leverage and some space for him, and LaPorta takes advantage and does the rest. So this is some design, some LaPorta. Again, a difference between what the Bills don't do this kind of stuff. But again, they don't necessarily have to, because they get inside the 5 and they're like, all right, cool. Josh, do you want to just run it in, or do you want to give it to one of the running backs? Okay, you're going to run it in. Got it. Another one here against the Packers. Little inbreaker, catch through contact. Goff throws this ball away. It's a lot of trust. Right? Throws it away from Quay Walker. Doesn't want to lead LaPorta into all this mess. He throws it away. But look at the athleticism to reach back.
Boxes him out.
Through contact, plays through it, bang, snatches it. Nice. This is from LaPorta's rookie year. He's against Rasul Douglas here, Bills legend. Nice little arm over on the hands. This, again, after the catch difference. Not a ton of separation. Goff puts it on him, but then break the cackle. Stiff arm. Carry a man a little bit. Again, different type of player. I want to show these because I think too much players get compared to other players, and we don't take into account the scheme or the usage or the style of player that they are. And you could value it, more one than the other, but we saw how Kincaid wins. This is how LaPorta wins, between a combination of scheme and his ability. This is another really good schemed up one. There's LaPorta going into motion. I like this. This is from 2 years ago. Watch how Josh Reynolds drains the coverage. Amon-Ra sits here. Demario Davis nails down on him, and watch all the space that this creates.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, I remember.
Love that one. Clean into the end zone. Really nice design.
Sneaky trail. Sneaky trail design.
Yep. A little bit of a follow, a little bit. I feel like if you're playing Madden, this is like, Y trail, whatever the
Y
hell.
trail, I was going to say, empty Y trail.
Nice. Just nice. Again, design differences.
Good design.
Right? You see the C just part. Really nice piece. Now let's show him as a blocker. Show him as a blocker. This first one, a little bit of a wham block. You see a little bit of the pop here. Boom. Yeah. Just not huge sustain, driving the man, but you see that bang. Pop him, just drive him a little bit. Pop him and drive him a little bit. Boom. Gibbs is so fast.
Yeah, that was good positioning to get on that inside shoulder early.
This one?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Watch that. Yep. See that step right out of it, right? He explodes inside because he knows the positioning he needs to get. And he's going against a bigger bodied guy who has the advantage on him, but he gets underneath him. And again, he's not driving him. He's not crushing him, but he's doing enough to stay in between him. And then he gets under him and is able to continue to drive him and do enough. Right. Again, This run goes out the front door
Yeah,
significantly.
it doesn't even matter. But either way, the rep is still, if it were to be more of an inside rep from Gibbs, he's has the positioning.
He's obstructed. He's challenged the defender.
Yeah.
Good. This one is a win for Jared Verse. Watch LaPorta come in motion, and Verse is just like, get away from me. And watch him just bury Montgomery. But again, so this is the show.
Like, he's trying to be physical with him. Yes. He just got beat.
And this is the first game of the year, like, for Verse. A rookie year in the NFL, and he's already just like premier pass rusher.
Sidestepping people.
Defender, right? Just crazy. But he gets a little bit, he's trying to, he gets square to the line, and he's trying to be forceful, but ends up getting caught. Lunges, maybe this time, just next time, be a little more safe. Just try and wall your man a little bit.
It's hard to say he did much wrong here.
Right?
Like,
it's just a great play by Verse.
It's just a really good play.
But again, the idea, sometimes things happen. I think he's a better blocker than Kincaid, but things can still happen. This is him at fullback. Nice little usage for him here. Watch him get backside. Nice. And this is him against Young. So again, this is
a good initial pop.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to show with like because he's got more of a stockier, dense frame. Look at the difference when he meets Young head on head. Boom. He doesn't get knocked back. He doesn't get blown back. Again, all he has to do is obstruct because of where this run is probably going to go. It wanted to hit up inside. Montgomery bounces it, but you don't see him get chucked out of the club. He gets low. He makes
Young was never going to make that play if that run went inside.
No.
It's good sustain, good anchor. That's against Hoyt, right?
Yes, it is. Good pull. Gets in. Again, the effort, battle. Gets a little help from 43, who bangs into Hoyt a little bit, but you see that ability to kind of battle with actual defensive linemen, to not get completely compressed right away. Like, tends to happen a little bit more to Dalton Kincaid, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's LaPorta here. Look at nice lean, leverage, but gets driven inside. And then the man ends up making a play. So
I was going to say it looked good off the snap, but
then
didn't
he lost.
Sustain.
Has the ability to battle, can win some reps against some edges, but also a bit inconsistent again. So that's not like I think he gets billed a little bit like George Kittle light at times, which may be accurate depending on how light you view it. But yeah, you see him kind of just get driven back by somewhat of a smaller edge for the Bears there. This one I really like. This is from 2 years ago. Little bit of like that blast motion into the block. Watch how he helps widen the hole with the physicality. Bang. I like that one. Like, I don't know if Kincaid has that level of physicality plus form to execute something like that, but I like this. Again, different usage, different skill sets, different usage, different skill sets. Him going up against 54 again. Oh, no, I'm lying. I'm an idiot. This is incorrect. I was like, wait a minute. Why does he look so different? This is LaPorta. Watch him out in space. I like the contact here and drive. A little bit of pop.
Yeah.
Drive your man. Against an actual linebacker who likes to bang.
Right.
I remember 41 from the preseason and his hair and him just looking like a thicker Troy Polamalu if there.
Yeah, I was going to say, hard not to remember him.
Right. This is him against 54 initially, but then what do we get? A little bit of that similar arc type of deal. Let's arc that edge. Let's get to the second level. Then watch the contact as he gets into his man and watch him drive him downfield. Yeah. Drive him.
Yeah, it's a good rep.
Okay, and last one here. This is him against 55 again. Or no, not lined up initially against 55, but what you get a little bit from him from a split zone perspective. Not the cleanest, but gets an actual edge down.
Gets the job done.
Gets the job done. That's it. Again, that's so much of it, right? Make it muddy, make it messy, obstruct, do something like that. That can be fine. Right?
So pieces like what about you? Do you see LaPorta as the in-between version of Kincaid and McBride?
Yes.
In terms of like that spectrum of blocking and pass catching?
I think if we're going on the spectrum, and we're going to get into Bowers here in a minute, I think Kincaid is the worst blocker out of all four, but I think it goes Kincaid, Like Kincaid is here. I think Bowers is like here. Then I think LaPorta is like here. And then I think McBride is like a little bit up here. Like I think
And you could do
McBride
and you could probably do an inverse list of receiving just perfectly as well, and they just happen to
Ooh,
coincide.
I don't know. Bowers is pretty interesting. How
No, so
Bowers fits in is
sorry.
interesting for me.
Let's take Bowers out of it. Just with those three, you could do an inverse list
Yeah,
for
I would
their
probably do. I would probably
spectrum.
do Kincaid and then McBride and then like LaPorta.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting how that works.
Scheme matters a lot for LaPorta. But
For
some of the
sure.
Bowers receiving stuff, like so, this is obviously Brock Bowers will do the pass catching stuff first, and I know we've gone super long, and then we'll get out of here. Watch him cook Jordan Brooks, who's like a good linebacker from a cover standpoint. Watch the snap and the juice on this slant. Boom. Gets him leaning.
Yeah.
Bang. Leaves him standing still. Bang.
Really good footwork.
Yep. And then lowers the shoulder to get through the next linebacker. Boom. He plays this like he's playing basketball. Oh, it's so pretty. Juice to that game, which I like. This is him as the number 2 in the Trips bunch. This is Trent McDuffie, all pro corner. Cool. Like the foot fire. Bang, bang. And then look how like he gets McDuffie leaning. The hands, and then he's got the juice to run by him. But McDuffie gets back in phase because McDuffie's super good. Now, but Bowers is cool with that. You can get into my body because I've got the size and the physicality. Oh, you're going to hold my arm? That's fine. Here comes a one-handed catch. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's such a crazy combination.
Right? Nuts. And he draws the flag. And still made that catch. The athleticism overall coming through. But then he's got some technique stuff too. Here's him in line here. Watch him release. Get around the edge. Now, there's Tramari Connor, number 27 on him. Watch. He gets a little bit of collision with Bolton. Watch as Connor gets into his body. Watch how he disconnects with the outside arm. I'm going to go and rewind it a little bit. Watch him use that outside arm. Comes right here. Watch him chop down on the left arm of Connor. Bang. Right there. Chops him. Now Connor's body is turned a little bit, and he uses that to create the separation as he plays right through it. And then look at the separation it creates.
Yeah.
And then he's got the athleticism, tracks, touchdown, but some technicality. And again, it comes
literally just hand checking.
Bang. But it's that quick little punch.
Yeah.
It's into the body, quick punch.
Just to get the physicality of Connor off of him.
He's the most similar to Kincaid
unimpeded
from a usage standpoint. 26.4% of his snaps came in line. Again, Kincaid was 26.8. A lot of that is because he plays with Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame, who the Raiders took the year before. Mayer is also a pretty good overall tight end, but he's more run blocking than Bowers is. So they use him as the Y. Again, I think he blocks better than Kincaid, but because they have Mayer, he ends up just being the Y. Mayer ends up being the Y more often than not. Here's some more usage. Send him in the motion. Psych. It's return. One-on-one with a corner. Just in breaker and a casual one-handed catch. Just. I also love Jacoby Myers, number 16 right here. Watch his little skip after Bowers makes the catch because it gets him like excited a little bit. He's like, oh. He skips right into it. Little head nod there, a little head bump. Like
that's funny.
Again, guy who can do some outside stuff. Not the level of separation. Not necessarily as fluid of an athlete, but he's got more size to him, more physicality in addition to the athleticism. Different type of winning. Little bit of a more technical aspect here. Bunch, he's the number 1 to the Trips bunch this time. Watch him just cook Witherspoon on this little whip route. And then pop back outside.
Yeah, as much as there's like a fluidity to Bowers' game, it doesn't match Kincaid, but there's a technicality to it that feels a little bit more superior.
And again, he's only on 1 year sample size, so we still don't like McBride has 3 years, LaPorta has 2, Kincaid has 2. This is rookie year Bowers. Not great QB play. A lot of craziness happening for the Raiders. This is him I like the way he slams on the brakes here and shakes Thompson. Whoop, that's nice. Kincaid doesn't have that. McBride has that a
weird.
little bit.
He has athleticism, but not necessarily like the fluidity that Kincaid has. It's hard to describe because he moves a little bit more sudden.
Yes, he's got more like sharpness and like change of direction to his game, whereas Kincaid is more fluid. Like this play right here, Bowers can make this. Out of the guys we looked at, Bowers can make this. McBride can make this. I don't think Kincaid can. LaPorta maybe
I feel like he could.
Yeah. But again, just another element to Bowers' game. Whoop. I like that cut. Like that looks like a Khalil Shakir type of cut, like a running back.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Deal. Then last piece here. This is him as a blocker. Watch him get up on Delpit and drive him out. Stay connected. Drive him downfield.
Yeah,
real nice. Get on your man. And you see Delpit's going forward, and he gets put horizontal.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Yeah.
And Delpit's hitting him in the face, knocking his head back. Bowers just
you can get a little bit of help from another defender there. Didn't even really gain any ground on it.
Didn't change anything. If anything, it knocked 30 backwards.
Yeah.
30 comes right here. Oh, nope. Gets hit off. This one, nice little split zone run. Watch him just take the legs out from Myles Garrett. Boom.
So you don't think Kincaid has the force to execute a split zone block?
I don't know. I genuinely have a question. I think he could do enough to obstruct. I don't know if he's going to take guys' legs out and chop them down like this. I don't know if he has the density to the frame.
I mean, I agree with that part of it, but I feel like it's an easy to win block.
Yes.
Like it's hard to lose that rep as a tight end.
Instead of coming here like this and taking him out at the knees, I think he could kind of go here and do more like this. So at worst, it makes him pause or have to go this way, and then you're still getting the same job done.
I honestly, as a blocker, think they should use Kincaid more like that because he has the athleticism to get out there.
I mean, and you could literally do this, like have him hipped off like that, and then cut back.
And then it allows you to do other things in the pass game off from that formation.
Some more attaching and driving from Bowers there. Again, against a smaller defender, DB, but you see more of that attach. It loses him as things get.
But the drive still.
Yep. Tenacity, the drive, the connection stays. Now, this is where you start to see some struggles a little bit. This is him against Ellis, rookie from LSU, Utah. So this is rookie on rookie. Watch him gets caught a little high. Timing isn't there. The body position isn't there. Gets compressed. But again, does enough to try and can you obstruct enough? There's reps where you're going to lose. The timing isn't there. What can you do? Can you try and anchor? He gets a little right there, a little bit, but still gets compressed. Guy helps make the play. But again, rookie. This is a play I could see Kincaid making.
Yeah.
Or this happening to Kincaid, I should say.
Yeah. But once again, tight end on an edge, not a DB.
Correct. Now here he is on another edge, run defending, leaning type of edge, and Jonathan Cooper. Watch Cooper just get him with this long arm and just compress the hell out of him.
Yeah.
Bowers tries to turn him a little bit, but that long arm is nasty.
I mean, that's what would separate tight ends from other tight ends is how you can handle these edge rushers.
Exactly. And this is why, again, he's more in line here. So Mayer was out for this game. So what are you going to do? Like this would normally be that Michael Mayer type of role here. He's probably in line, but you're still trying to get it done with Bowers. He just gets driven back. And the hand placement isn't even bad, right? Like
no,
he gets the hands inside, but Cooper's
I was going to say that, the technique feels like it's a very connected generating force from the ground, good pad level.
Yeah.
But he just kind of, gets beat.
And again, that's a tough block for any tight end against an actual defensive end,
just
an actual edge.
Physicality.
Yep. Especially one that leans run defense like Cooper, who's worth his salt as a run defender. Like he's going to try and beat your tight ends up.
Yeah.
Here's one. I like this one. This is this is back-to-back plays for the Ravens. I like the first time on this one. send him in motion, watch him go up against Malik Harrison, bang, gets driven back, right? Tries to meet him with force on force, boom, gets knocked back, kind of gums the play up a little bit, gets knocked back into the pulling guard, messes things up. The next play, same thing, going the other way, also again against Malik Harrison, watch him gear down, and this time, body position, right? Nice turn.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go shoulder to shoulder with him. He banged the hell out of me last time. I'm just going to turn. I like the way he throttles down. This is what I would like to see. Yes, this is what I want to see more of from Dalton Kincaid. I don't think he's going to be this people mover hammer.
No.
Just get the body position.
Yeah.
Bang. Nice leverage. Both guys are low. Hat on a hat. Literally turn your body in sync with the hands. Boom. Just shield. That's it. Just be a shepherd. Just shield.
You're right, though, because all it takes is half a second, 1 second, and you've won your block.
Literally.
I mean, given the scheme of the play, like,
look at this. He makes contact at the bottom right here. It's 1:24.70. So at
1:25,
54, he's already through. So not even a full second later. You just need to hold that block for a second. That's all you got to do. Most plays last like 2.5 to 3 seconds anyway. Just that's it. All you got to do is hold it. Just enough. That's why I think Bowers is ahead of Kincaid there, because he's got the feel for the body positioning and more physicality to him. But
again, I think body type helps him as well as all of these guys, maybe outside of, well, I guess LaPorta, but the closest comp in terms of body would be LaPorta. They're probably both similarly like lanky and not so stocky in their upper and lower halves. But like McBride has a clear advantage to all of these guys. He's a very stocky build. He's naturally going to be more stout as a blocker, but I think Bowers comes in a close second with that kind of body type.
Yeah. And again, everything body type, the usage, we wanted to show these guys for the sake of the comparison piece that happens so much. I feel like so much, and maybe this is just unique to me, but I feel like a lot of times when I get Kincaid detractors, it's, also James asked, how many targets did Bowers get? Yeah, K. Morey said 153. SIS had him at 154, which is crazy. Most amongst tight ends. He was 22nd in EPA per target out of 36 tight ends with at least 40 targets. He was 12th in EPA and 16th in positive play percentage. But he was their passing offense, especially once they traded Devontae Adams. It was him and a little bit of Jacoby Myers. I'm interested to see what they do going forward. But yeah, I don't like when players get compared to others because it's just not apples to apples in a variety of ways. Like the scheme that they're in, the offense that they're in, the surrounding talent that they have. Like, again, Bowers is a good example. Like the other tight ends on the team that changes his usage, the other receivers on the team that changes usage, the quarterback that changes him, let alone like the chaos their organization was in and everything that was going on. Like it's so tough to just be like, oh, well, this guy has more yards than this guy or this guy. And that's not even taking into account like just targets and volume and all these pieces.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting to show for, this is a good stat poll from K. Morty. He says Kincaid and Myers accounted for, I'm assuming you mean Bowers? Oh, there you go. Thank you. He corrected it. So Bowers and Michael Mayer accounted for over 30% of the Raiders' pass attempts and almost half the receptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the focal point there. And Mayer's a good
funky
tight end
offense.
Well. Yes.
Yeah, he is.
So much is, oh, well, this guy has more yards than this guy, or this guy has more catches than this guy, or touchdowns or whatever. And it's just not apples to apples. And I think what's interesting with Kincaid is what we broke down in this episode, where his skill set leans from a strength standpoint, where his skill set needs some improvement in some area of opportunity that can be fixed, but also the schematic usage. And, some of the plays that, we showed there are designed for those guys. Like that first play we showed for Bowers, like he's purposefully that inside receiver because they want him matched up on a linebacker because they know exactly the linebacker. But Kincaid will get some of that stuff too because he can succeed in those type of roles. But then Bowers gets the huge target share out of everything else because of the lack of weapons and then the injury to Mayer and everything else going on there and how much of a run first team the Bills are. But then the Lions are also a run first team. But Ben Johnson was a tremendous play designer and did a great job getting LaPorta into advantageous positions all over the field. Brady, is it that he's not good at that? Or is it that he hasn't needed to because they've leaned into other aspects of the team and the offense has rolled and they haven't had to do that. McBride, different offense, focal point of the offense, even with Marvin Harrison Jr. coming through, but just he, I think, is so much of not a unicorn, but he's got the size and the athleticism and the burst and the explosion and the physicality. Like he's got more eggs in all those different buckets that allow him to be used in different ways. And then you put him closer to the line of scrimmage and allow him to just succeed in a multitude of ways with that power and speed. And it really is interesting, watching how other successful tight ends, especially younger ones who have similar time on task and experience in the NFL as Kincaid, how they get used, how they play, how it's tied to their skill sets and their play style, and then what it all means, when you're comparing these guys, which is, I think, what we wanted to do in this episode.
Yeah, no, I think we did a good job of kind of showing where all of these guys fall on the spectrum of tight end, because tight end is such a unique position where you do so much more than just one thing. They say you're an athletic offensive lineman, right? Like you're learning everything an offensive lineman would learn, and you're also learning everything a wide receiver would learn. So the spectrum for where you would fall and your skill set would fall can be so unique. So I think we did a good job of showing how Dalton Kincaid is a really unique player at a unique position. And sometimes that needs to be contextualized when you're talking about the expectations for that player, especially when you're trying to compare him to his peers.
Yes. And just, especially those peers, like, I didn't even go over like LaPorta. LaPorta's an even bigger one, right? Like people always compare Kincaid and LaPorta because they were in the same draft class. Kincaid, again, 26.8% of the time he was in line in 2024. LaPorta, 50.3.
Yeah.
Just off of that, nowhere close in usage. And again, that makes sense given their body type, their skill set, and the type of offense they play in. But there's so much that has to get taken into account with how they're used and how they play. And yeah, I am interested to see what a healthy Dalton Kincaid looks like, what year 3 looks like for him. I hope he gets used out wide even more. I don't want him.
Usage is the big thing.
Yes. I don't want him to completely go away from being used as an actual tight end. And I'd still like some sprinkling of some inline stuff from time to time. And I would prefer him being more hipped off than anything. Have Knox be your Y or Hawes be your Y, or even Alec Anderson be your Y and Kincaid is that F. He is the adjuster.
With that, though.
He is the move guy. Get him outside. Use him as that quasi-X. Use him as that one-on-one guy. We showed it. Like, corners are going to have a tough time. Safety's going to have a tough time. Linebackers are going to have an even tougher time. Use him truly as that mismatch guy from an alignment perspective. And just because he is the solo guy or he is the number one, it doesn't mean it has to be spread. We showed it. Reduced formational width, but he's that number one. It could be reduced formational width in general, or he could just be in a squeeze split as an individual. And the trip side is a little bit wider and spread out. There's so many more options you have with him. And I think they can tap into that while still not losing their identity as a run-first team and a smash-mouth downhill at you displacement creating team on the ground. And that could open up Kincaid. I think that opens up the offense. Also allows Keon Coleman to continue to develop and breathe. Allows you to still function in Shakir. So maybe we'll get him as the tip of the spear this year. Any parting thoughts on Kincaid, the Bills, any of these other guys before we start to wind down here?
Final answer. Dalton Kincaid is not a bust.
Correct. I was very worried that people would be like, you think he's a bust? And I was like, nope.
Hey, if you stuck around for 2.5 hours, you got your answer to the thumbnail, folks.
That's true. I also said it early just in case people didn't. I said it in like minute 3 just in case.
Well, you said might be a spoiler, and I was like,
that's true. That is true. Well done. Well done. Good callback. Yeah, we went very long in this episode, as I kind of realized we would once I realized how long we talked about Kincaid. But this episode was awesome. I thought it was very informative. I hope you folks liked it. Speaking of things folks should like, One Pie Pizza, the best pizza in Buffalo, New York. I don't say that because they sponsor the show. They sponsor the show because I think they truly are the best pizza in Buffalo, New York. Sweet sauce pie, cup and char pepperoni, a great cheese to sauce ratio, homemade blue cheese. It really is the best pizza in Buffalo and worth every single penny. And what's also nice, too, is they moved. I keep talking about it all the time. They moved into the catering world a little bit as well. Their catering division is called Elevated Catering of Buffalo. We're doing summer cookouts, birthday parties, grad parties, anything and everything. Their catering options are great. They make all these different homemade mac and cheeses and different options. It really is like awesome. They also do a breakfast pizza now at One Pie, which is great. So get yourself some One Pie pizza, whatever form or fashion you want to consume their goods in it. You will not be disappointed. And again, like I always plug, they do a lot of good for the community. Partner with the SPCA, partner with the Alzheimer's Foundation, Toys for Tots, partner with Roswell to try to knock out cancer. They're really good people making really good food. Go get yourself some One Pie pizza. Check out Elevated Catering of Buffalo. All of that stuff. Thank you very much to One Pie, as always, for sponsoring the show. Kendall, thank you very much to you for joining me on this episode. Before you folks leave, if you're still watching live, there's 117 of you still here with us at 11:40 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Please, 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 and thank you. Drop a like on this video if you have not already. If you are watching later, please, 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 and thank you. Drop a like on this video. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams. They go a sincerely long way towards helping us to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears. We also got 3 dislikes or downvotes. I don't know why. So more likes help to kind of boost that algorithm even further. If you're listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, please rate, review, and subscribe. Turn on notifications for the Disguise Coverage playlist here on YouTube. Subscribe to the Cover One channel. Tell your family and friends and loved ones about this show if you enjoyed it. And I sincerely hope that you did. If you did not enjoy this episode, tell your enemies about it or about the show and try and ruin their day by making them watch this episode or this show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in live. It was awesome to see all the back and forth, the engagement. I know I went a little radio silent while I was doing all the film. So if there's anything we didn't answer, feel free to get at me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro 2_ANT. Get at me on Blue Sky at proant. No underscores there, just PROANT. Get at Kendall on Twitter at Mirsky Kendall, MIRSKYKENDALL. I always
killed
reverse
it.
Oh,
now you killed it, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah. So if we didn't get to anything, get at us on the socials. Appreciate everybody who tuned in, who watched live. For those of you who are with us for the entirety of this marathon episode, thank you so much. That's awesome. We appreciate you folks. Kendall, I appreciate you probably most of all for riding with me on this episode. This was super fun. It's always awesome to link up and talk ball again. And yeah, I appreciate you joining me. Appreciate all you folks. And that'll do it for us here in this episode of Disguise Coverage. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. We'll see you when we see you. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.